folks. This is Frederick, and you are joining us with the March Art Madness 2019 round three. We're getting ready to get started here. I'm going to take the March Art Madness presentation, take it full screen for you, and we're going to wait for a few minutes and let everyone who is normally able to view our broadcast tune in live. As you guys know, if those of you who follow us, you know it takes us a little while to get going. It's always a bit of a production. We've got, we don't have the most sophisticated technology set up, I hate to say, so it takes us a little while to get everything moving in the right direction. But regardless, we've got everything ready to go, and we are working really hard to make sure you guys have an entertaining show as well as an entertaining tournament. I'm very happy to be joined by some of the folks I'm joined with today, and we're going to be meeting them here very shortly. But for now, we have the podcast. We have the broadcast that is up and running. I see a few people starting to join us in the chat room. And for those of you who are joining us in the chat room, of course, as you know, we greatly appreciate your support. We also greatly appreciate your proactive nature and being able to make sure that the discussion in the live chat is as entertaining, informative, and positive as possible. We are not here to try to demean or demoralize or hurt anyone. We want to talk about art, talk about comics and video games and superhero movies and all the fun stuff we normally do as it relates to fan art, and do it in a way that hopefully inspires and educates people and not just attacks them or makes fun of them. So hopefully everyone here is ready to rock and roll. I see our chat room is starting to fill up, which is great. And we will get ready and begin the broadcast. Now, again, my name is Frederick Jones. I'm the founder and publisher of Saturday AM. We are the world's most diverse shonen manga anthology. Now, if you've not followed us before, we started in 2013 with the general idea of taking a manga-style artwork and type of content, if you love things like Dragon Ball or Naruto or One Piece and so on, and create a digital magazine that would support that type of material, but that featured characters and came from creators who were from all over the world. As much as we love anthologies like Weekly Shonen Jump, we recognize the fact that as people of color ourselves, we wanted to see content that reflected the world that we knew, which included white and black and Latino, included South Asian, East Asians, included people from the Middle East, people from Africa, people from Europe, people from America, people from Latin America, and so on. And so we went about creating our brand of that material, which is called Saturday AM. The content has been extraordinary. We featured exclusive creators like White Manga with titles like Apple Black, and it has greatly exploded beyond our wildest imaginations. And we just recently hit our 100th issue, and we've also spun off the magazine into a more adult version, a subsequent magazine called Saturday PM. You can see here the content that we currently have, and these are just a couple of covers from our magazine. You can see our fantastic issue 100. We feature some of the top series that run inside of the magazine. Titles like, again, Apple Black, Hammer, Bully Eater, Saigami, Soul Beat, Mutton Chop, massively multiplayer World of Ghosts, and Clock Striker, which is Shonen Manga's first black female lead character. You can see her there on the left-hand side. And that, of course, again, is something that we've been able to really pioneer. That was not something that you readily saw available in manga. You may see characters who were of color, but typically they were background characters or side characters. Rarely did they have a lot of strong agency. We wanted to take the fact that we were global and bring more of that attention to our content. Likewise, with Saturday PM, you can see just how different the artwork shifts. Becomes a lot more adult, becomes a lot edgier. The content is more adult and mature in the sense that the decisions and the scenarios that occur feature stakes that are a bit more personal and a bit more adult. So we're very excited about Saturday PM. And of course, White Manga, one of our top creators, who has, of course, a series Apple Black. He is subsequently the creator of a series that is exclusive to Saturday PM called Bakasi. You can read that exclusively inside of Saturday PM. In fact, we are working very hard on the latest issues. Saturday AM issue number 102 will be coming out very soon, as will issue number 4 of Saturday PM. You can see the cover illustrations for both magazines there. And again, we could not be more excited that we've not only started this whole diversity in manga movement. One of the first ones to champion it as aggressively as we did. But that now that seems like everybody's getting onto that bandwagon, which is great. Because trust me, more diversity is a good thing. Then we're very pleased with the fact that we didn't just rest on our laurels and we've continued to push ahead, as difficult as it might be sometimes, to continue to take these brands forward and produce newer series, newer issues, and fantastic new creators. In fact, you're going to meet one of those creators here shortly. Saturday AM also has expanded into graphic novels. And folks, I want to tell you now that we are working very hard to get Saturday AM graphic novels into your local library and your local comic book store. And the best way for us to do that is to do the work that we're doing currently to make that happen. But it's also for you to make sure that you are talking to your local library and talking to your local comic book store and letting them know that Saturday AM is a brand that has been around for 5 years. We built up an international fan base. We've got fantastic web traffic and social media following, and that we want to bring the web to those stores. So if you've ever wanted to go into your comic book store and find content that was a bit different, a bit cooler than what you currently have found, let us be a part of that journey with you. Help us get Saturday AM into the retail space. I can tell you that we just recently went to a show called Comics Pro, an international showcase featuring not manga, sorry, but comic book retailers around the world, literally from New Zealand to the United Kingdom, Canada, and the U.S. And the response that we got to Saturday AM was extraordinary. We simply did not expect that the effort that we had put into Saturday AM, as hard as we worked, would be so well received as it was, but it really has been. And I must say, hats off to all of our creators, hats off to all of our fans. But the work's not done. They're excited. They want it. Now we've got to make sure that we create the atmosphere for them to not only order it, but to sell it through. And that means to make sure that you know who your local comic book stores are, you know who your local bookstores are, and that you know who your local libraries are, and that you're letting them know that you will want to see Saturday AM products in those stores. Now, March Art Madness, this tournament is all about helping us discover the next great creators and also to provide them a platform and a learning curve that lets them create their own great content. The problem, of course, is that it's really rare to be able to do that. So, for example, we have a longtime fan, Juan Mendoza, who is a great fan of Saturday AM. He's been super, super in love with us, and we've been a big fan of his for just the level of dedication and support and just love that he's given us, frankly. And but the issue, he's going to a show this weekend called WonderCon in Los Angeles. Not everybody can make it to a big convention. Maybe where you live doesn't have a big comic book convention, but he's going there to show his portfolio to editors. And what I can tell you, especially as we see it as a digital company, is that more and more content is being discovered online. So March Art Madness does not just give you a chance to really compete against some of the best young and new artists in the world. It not only puts you through the gauntlet of having to actually get your work in on time, having to draw things that you might not necessarily want to draw, which, folks, by the way, that's if you're going to try to be a comic book creator in the future, you're going to draw things you don't want to draw. You can't draw Dragon Ball or Spider-Man all the time. That's what makes this tournament so great. And what's been great, the legacy we built with it, we discovered extraordinary creators who simply weren't there before. So you have folks like Miles O'Brien that we discovered in our very first year with this tournament. He's from the United States, and he is extraordinarily talented, and we really gave him that platform to discover what he wanted to do with art. Likewise, William Peterson from Sweden won in 2017, and he took his love of art and was able to take it forward and to expand it, doing commissions and more things from there. And likewise, Bailey Boutel, whose artwork you see right here, we actually discovered him in 2017. I don't think Billy was a serious artist back then. At least when I talked to him, he's never expressed he was. And it wasn't until he saw just how much response he got from doing work with March Art Madness in 2017 that he then repeated in 2018 so he could actually win the tournament from Australia, that he's been able to take that and really turn it into a really money-making opportunity for him. So March Art Madness legacy is really, again, the same thing as Saturday AM, is to help bring more diverse new voices to comic books. And in this particular way, it's about helping people who want to create comics to, first of all, really to really love the discovery of art creation, being able to create great content as illustrations and doing it in a really competitive environment. That's what it's all about, folks. So We began the tournament March 11th, 2019. The tournament will actually officially finish on April 8th, and then we got some more great things coming after that. But this year, we put more staff, more people to this tournament than we ever have in the past. This is our fourth version of March Art Madness, and we couldn't be more excited because, again, the idea here is to make this the biggest, coolest, just most spectacular art tournament in the world. And folks, we're coming close to being able to do that. 2019, we've also thrown in some new features. We have a thing called ranking powers. We have bonus points. We have new themes like comic pages and comic swaps and mythological creatures, where last week we actually saw some really amazing mythology from places like India and various parts of the world. So we've been able to have a chance to challenge our creators to bring their culture and their ideas to the mix in ways that we've never done before. Now, last week we gave you the special announcement, folks. We have another part of that special announcement. We want to do it right now. And before you guys ask, that is not Jay Oden. March Art Madness 2019 is now officially sponsored by Chameleon Art Products. Folks, if you've never tried some really, really terrific markers, colored pencils, and/or color tops, you don't know just how good it can be to create a traditional image with high-quality tools. Chameleon Art Products has been around for about 5 years, almost as long as we have, and they are truly awesome. These folks are they're really dedicated to great art. They're discovering and working with more and more creators who are younger and working with more and more young artists who are in the manga style. So it was a perfect relationship for us to develop with these guys. We couldn't be happier having a chance to get to meet more and more of their staff, and their commitment mirrors our commitment, which is why we are really excited about this. Because a lot of times when you do things like this and you get companies who want to work with you, which we've done in the past, it's very easy for you to just go along with it because they're offering you money or free product. You see it on YouTube all the time. But with Saturday AM, you know that our interest level always extends to the idea of being able to work with companies that we believe really get and support our overall mission, which is to bring new, diverse voices to comics and to art creation. And that is what Chameleon is all about. We couldn't be happier to be working with them. And so, again, we announced this last week, but now the special announcement is a couple of things. Number one is not only are they providing some really big prizes in association, alongside of our Apple iPad, but they're offering even more stuff on top of that. So you can see here, first and foremost, we've got the markers. They've got a huge blend of markers. In fact, they've got about 50 markers. And when you compare them with the color tops, folks, they give you the range that is infinite of colors that you can create when you want to go for a really unique style, a la things like Copic markers. So if you look at the average Copic marker, you're going to pay about $6 to $8 for one of these markers. You can do well over 200 markers with Copic. And Copics are great. Don't get us wrong. We're not knocking Copic. But what we love about Chameleon is that they're in a position to be able to offer you some really unique product, and it's cheaper. And then when you then look at the way you can blend the colors and so forth with the way that they handle their markers with their color tops, you then can produce infinite level of options in terms of creating really unique colors. So the fact that they're going to offer the entire slate of markers is really cool. You can find out more information at this web address, www.chameleonartproducts.com. We encourage you to go to their website and just check out what they're offering. They're offering such amazing stuff. But folks, it gets better than that, because obviously in the tournament every week we're seeing new and great creators, some of which that may not make it to the following week for a variety of reasons. So because of that, we want you to know that yes, the grand prize of the Apple iPad is coming alongside of all this huge stuff that we're going to have from Chameleon and their art products and stuff. But they're also throwing in some prize packages, and we're going to talk more about that shortly. Such as they're going to be recognizing some winners of previous art contests. They're going to be recognizing winners of previous rounds. So with that being said, let's get into the judges here. I want to get to meet some of these folks. So let's begin with now you see here, these are some images that were done with markers. They weren't done with Chameleon markers yet, but you're going to see the artist of these do something very similar when he gets his set of markers in very soon from Chameleon. But first and foremost, obviously, Clock Striker, I created that. So that for Shonen manga's first black female lead character, that came from me. the publisher Saturday AM. We got some big news coming for Clock Striker soon, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Next up, we have Raymond Brown, the creator of Bully Eater. Now, Raymond is one of the first creators that I spoke to when I was getting ready to start Saturday AM. He's been a partner with me in terms of creating the company and making the magazine happen and go. And so I'm really, really proud to have Raymond on my team. And Raymond, I got to say, I don't normally say this publicly, but I'll say it now. You guys promise never to repeat it. But I kind of consider Raymond like a friend. So, there you go. So Raymond, why don't you tell everybody hello?
Strong words there, Frederick. Strong words. Hey, everybody. Glad to be here. Can't wait to look at some really cool art. And yeah, hello, everybody.
Folks, this is why I can say that about Raymond, because Raymond has such few things to say. Our conversations are always brief. And that's what makes me like Raymond even more. So that's his character, Sal, the star of Bully Eater. If you haven't had a chance to check that series out, you will love it. Give it a chance. You can check it out on our website right now. And of course, we do have a volume 1 available, and Raymond is wrapping up volume 2 as we speak. Now, the artist, again, of these amazing pieces, again, done in marker, is the one and only Jay Oden. Now, we are just in love with Jay Oden. He is, to me, he's like kind of like the heart of Saturday AM, because a lot of what I envision for Saturday AM is kind of encapsulated in Jay. Jay is just, he's one of the nicer people you guys will meet, and he's super talented. He's one of the most talented people you'll meet. And he's one of the fastest artists you'll meet, which I can tell you is a true, rare trait. His series is called Hammer. If you love adventure and fantasy, you will love Hammer. I don't even have to try to sell you on this, folks, because I promise you, just give yourself a time to sit down on our website, check out Hammer. You will appreciate the lush colors of it. It's full color. You'll appreciate the amazing artwork, which is just effortless from Jay. And you'll appreciate the character Stud and his journey he goes on, trying to find his long-lost father. Really, really fun stuff. Jay Oden, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. What's going on?
You guys don't know this, and I don't know this directly, but I am confident. Raymond, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I am confident, ladies and gentlemen, that if I had the ability, the power, to take over Jay's camera on his laptop right now and turn it on and broadcast it to you all, what you just heard me say about Jay, when Jay popped on there and goes, "Hey, I'm doing good, everybody. What's up?" What you all don't see is a little tear come down his face. He's overcome with emotion.
That is no. I'm jawing right now. That's all I'm doing.
Jay looks like a Kira Oda character. That's just discovered. That's how my Jay when they start crying and like
blood and tears coming out of places. Crying waterfalls.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, again, Jay is great. He's going to have some great commentary. All these guys are. But I do hope you guys will check out Hammer. It's a really great series, and the book's coming out a little bit later. This year, come out later this summer. So please pay attention to it, because we're working really hard to try to get it ready for everybody in the highest quality possible. But please check it out when you get a moment. And our special judge for tonight is a young man who is new to Saturday AM, Saturday PM, as a matter of fact. And I got to say, we met him almost 2 years ago in New York City. And I got to say this, and I was thinking about this earlier. So, I don't plan these things when I talk. This is all from the cuff. I wish we were big enough to where this presentation could be smooth, to where I could have all sorts of really cool stuff that I could say. I wish we were set up like that. We're not. But if I were, and we actually had the ability to have someone write my scripts, I promise you this would be something, again, that I just kind of pulled together, because I was thinking about this today. JR, what's your last name? How do you say your last name?
It's DeBard. It's French. I can't even say it properly.
Oh, what? DeBard?
DeBard. Like
DeBard. I was getting ready to sound like, damn, I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s, but I went to college in the 90s. I'm like, you to my El DeBard? Are you related to him?
Oh, no, not at all.
I'm not Raven. Do you know who that is?
Oh, of course. Everybody on this call knows who he is, especially if they hear his song.
Yeah.
Because he has like a couple.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was getting ready to say Elder Barnes was big back in the day, man.
Yeah.
And his group, yeah. So, anyways, folks. So with this, he is he's a great artist. We met him in New York. He's grown dramatically. So there's so much stuff that you see of his, it just gets better and better every time we see it. And his stuff that we saw in New York, Raymond and I talked about it. The stuff we saw in New York, not only is he a very nice young guy, and that's always an amazing thing. That is always an amazing thing because it's tough when you're interacting with folks at this level. Creators tend to be very unique and sometimes cocky and a variety of things. And JR was so nice and so cool a young man. But to have a chance now to work with him and having seen the growth that he had, we were already impressed with him then. To see the growth that he's had since then and the development of his own title called Underground, which will begin running inside of Saturday PM. It's really extraordinary because this is, again, what we started Saturday AM for. And I have to say that, and this is the point I was thinking about earlier today when I was actually washing dishes of all things, but JR reminds me a lot of Jay Oden because both of them, first of all, both of them have a laugh. Both of them laugh at the drop of a hat. But they are, but they're such good people, and they're such, and the thing is that you can tell when you look at them, if you have the pleasure to meet them, and you will as time goes on, that they love art, they love drawing, and I think that so frequently, as you guys have heard me say this before, so frequently what makes publishing comics at this level and interact with so many young creators, what makes it so difficult is you're always talking to young people that they don't really like to draw. Like they want to be movie stars or rappers or singers or anything else other than an actual comic artist. Like that's the last thing they actually want to do. And comics is what brought us all here. Comics is what inspires so much stuff that we do. And so from that perspective, to see two people who just really bleed it, who really care about it, who really are dedicated to it, whether or not fame ever finds them, and I don't think it's going to be the case for either one of them. It's extremely refreshing when you do this from my vantage point. So really pleased to meet JR, for have you all meet JR. Really pleased for you all to get ready to see Underground, his first work. This image you see here on the screen, where it looks like where his other leg is a little odd. Yes, this is JR. Still getting to the place where he's going to be, but trust me, this man you have not seen anything yet. This man can do extraordinary stuff, and we have complete faith that Saturday PM, which needed an anchor series, needed a series that could really take it to the next level. We're confident that JR is going to be that person. Jerry, you want to say a few words, everybody?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, hi. It's great to talk with you all. I'm looking forward to judging work, finding out more about college basketball because I don't know too much about that. Hope you all check out Underground in Saturday PM issue 4. Yeah.
So, folks, Underground will be a continuing series. So, what you're going to read number 4 is just the first kind of part of the story. We're going to be working with JR as we do with all of our creators to help them continue to refine and strengthen their series. But we're really excited to have JR as part of the team. We're going to meet some other creators in the future too, folks. But really excited about JR. He really is what we've been waiting for Saturday PM. And I could not be more excited about Saturday PM now that we've got JR on the team. So, all right. So with that being said, this is a slide that was in the wrong position. So let me apologize for that. So what you see right now are the Color Tops Awards. This is the special announcement we wanted to make before. And the Color Tops Awards are where Chameleon is going to honor each week an artist that they felt like really captured some really cool color work going on. And then just great artwork on top of that. And the first winner from round 1 will be Ambar Naruto Freck 1. She is from the group, I think she's from Team Clock Striker. She's from Puerto Rico. And we're really excited that that beautiful piece with the Nintendo characters, I think it's Super Smash Brothers characters, because it's not all Nintendo characters. Really pleased that Amber is being recognized for her extraordinarily beautiful artwork and beautiful color work. I talked about her last year when she was a finalist last year about how her color work is devastatingly good, and Chameleon agrees. So hats off to you, Amber. We'll be getting your actual address soon, and we'll be sending you your package from Chameleon as part of their weekly round prize. For round number 2, that is Harakami art. This is a young man who was actually from Germany. This was a fantastic piece he had, My Hero Academia versus One Punch Man. It did not win that round. He was up against a lot of other talent, but we do think that this is an extraordinarily talented young man. He's got some great color work, as we saw in the very first round. His first week where he did a Spider-Man piece, he put in some really cool motion blur. It looked like just a really cool comic book image. It didn't look like ultra fancy. It was just like, had kind of the primary color use to it and some cool special effects. So really excited to see Harakami get the recognition he deserves as well. And we can't wait to get his address. We can get his package sent out as well. So again, these are the new Color Tops Awards. You can expect to see Color Tops Award for round 3 announced next week when we do our live review show for round 4. All right, that's it. I know a few of you have questions. We'll get to those questions at the end of this episode of Saturday AM Presents March Art Madness 2019 Round 3 Live Review. But right now, we want to review some artwork. Are you ready? Is everybody out there ready? Let me get some readies on the chat line. Let me get some readies. You guys ready? You ready, Jay?
Yo, let's do it.
All right. Wow, that was great. That was great. Folks, now if you turn the camera on for me, now I'm crying. What about you, JR? Are you ready?
Yep. Let's get ready to rumble.
Nice, JR. And Raymond, I know that you got a half-ass ready available. So are you ready, buddy?
Ready.
All right.
Somebody got to be straight man here. Somebody got to be the straight man.
All right. Well, let's get it going then. Let's hit this thing. Round 3 review. Sweet 16 fan art critiques coming from all of us. This was a really cool tournament. Or tournament theme, because it was all about the crossover with the NCAA March Madness. This is an event happening right now in the United States where all of our top colleges get to go head-to-head against each other in college basketball. Now, sadly, last night, my alma mater, a team that has won 6 national championships, 4 of them in my lifetime, so that's just crazy. They were knocked out last night in the round of 16. So I'm heartbroken. And our ultimate rivals, Duke University, they survived like a scare and made it to the Elite 8. So I'm really ticked about that. It hurts my heart. But regardless, this was a great round. It's always a fun round. This is the 3rd year we've done it, and we always discover some really amazing artwork. And it is cool to watch artists who don't know about a subject have to learn about it and have to genuinely get excited about it. And so that's a really cool thing, because that's, again, what comic book art is always about. So thank you, everybody. Yes, UNC's out. Duke is in. Duke better get beat tomorrow night, though. I know that. All right, so let's go to it. Now, each team that we have, because remember now, we start with 64 artists. We split them up into 4 separate teams based on some of our hottest series, Clock Striker being one. And Team Clock Striker had the following scenario. You had to draw a picture of at least one school from a mascot from any of these teams. In the NCAA March Madness, this is called the South Region. Now, the South Region had several teams, but now they're currently down, or at least at the time of this, they were down to Tennessee, Purdue, Virginia, and Oregon. And so we know, of course, that there have been some upsets already in this. So what we do with this particular round of the tournament is that if you draw someone who won, then you actually get extra points. So you could have gotten extra points for simply getting your artwork in early. You could have gotten extra points for picking a team that won. And then if they play again Sunday night, you'll get some more extra points. So it's a really cool scenario, as you'll see. And I do want to talk about this when we have our break. We always have our break after the first 2 teams. I'm going to take a moment and talk about previous rounds and what we discovered in those previous rounds that I do want to make sure that young artists watching this, and a lot of you do, folks. This is a 4-hour video. We always end up getting about 1,000 views for a 4-hour video. That is crazy. That's absolutely crazy, but it's great. It tells us that you guys really love this, and And because I can promise you, if we split this thing up and put it in the small, like 5-minute videos like everybody else, we'd have like 10,000 views. But it's great to have support that we're getting. That being said, though, what is interesting is some things that we saw last week, and I do want to talk about that when we hit our break today. So with that being said, Tennessee, Purdue, Virginia, and Oregon, those are the teams that are up in this particular group. Clock Striker for us, NCAA South Region for the NCAA March Madness. So let's look at the artwork. Now, you had Ambar Naruto Freck. She had a great image. She was up against, let me see here. I have to pull it up separately, but I know she was up against, let's see here. Does everybody know who she was up against?
Giorgio Brooks.
Yeah.
Giorgio Brooks. That's right. Giorgio Brooks. There we go. Thank you. All right. So Ambar gave us UVA and Oregon. Now, Oregon was defeated, but UVA won. The UVA's mascot is the Cavalier. And one of the things I actually wanted to do was show you what the mascots actually look like, but we just didn't have time to put that together. But it's usually like a cartoony Cavalier. It was always a cool mascot when I was a kid. This is from the same conference that I went to college in, which is called the ACC. And the Cavalier, you know, as a kid, all the mascots were like magical to me as a kid. And the Cavalier was always, because he was the most human of the bunch. You know, he was just a normal guy, you know, with a mustache and a cool sword. So here she, you know, a lot of folks here really didn't take the idea too dramatically. They just kind of presented it as if they were basketball mascots. They didn't like treat it that they're real creatures. So I thought it was kind of interesting. But in this case, we see with Ambar what she always does, which is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful artwork. Just beautiful artwork and very manga oriented. And then, of course, great color work. We're going to start off doing this the way we normally do it. So we're going to just let everybody talk for this first round, or first match. And then we'll split it up and we'll separate it based on each artist. So let me just hear from everybody real quickly. Jay, start with you. What did you make of this piece?
I loved the colors. They're very vibrant and very cartoony. I really like the facial expressions as well. I wish that they were doing more. Honestly, that's like my only thing about this. This artist is so talented. I wish they would have maybe had them like fighting over the ball or something. But other than that, this piece is great.
Yeah, Raymond, what about you? What did you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I love the like Jay said, I love the colors. I love the line work. It's always I mean, her line work has always been really strong. And also too, I love the texture that she used. Like if you look closely at it, I don't know if you can see it from here, but you can actually see there's like some texturing going on where, you know, it's not just flat colors. It's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, I see it on the Cavalier, not on the Duck. Yeah.
It's a little on the Duck, but more so on the Cavalier though, I guess because he's the star of the show or whatnot. And then she textured the basketball too. That looked really good. So
yeah, yeah, exactly. Basketball definitely.
Yeah, but like Jay said, that's my only gripe is I wish they were doing something a little more dramatic. But I love everything about it besides it just being kind of just a standard pose.
Yeah, JR, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, Jay and Raymond pretty much hit a lot of the points I was thinking too. I really like the bold colors and line art. They really pop and show a lot of confidence in the piece. I did notice also like the texture in the duck, like there's a bit of like shadows in the fur that really help, you know, sort of bring that a little bit more to life. But yeah, I wish there was, you know, a little bit more action going on. The expressions do like help intensify it a little bit, but some action would help out a little bit more, I think.
You know what? I didn't say that, but I couldn't agree more. I think this is what's going to make this an interesting tournament this round, or an interesting round for the tournament, because I think there's going to be. I mean, and I've said this before. In every round, I've said this, and if you go back and watch the previous year's videos, I talk about this a lot. But what makes this tournament so damn special is there's so many variables, right? The theme that you get, the time frame you have to get it in on. Any sort of bonus points you can accrue, whether you get it in early or things like that. But the big one is always what you choose to draw, because it's always your choice. We don't limit them on anything beyond here's the theme. So you choose what part of that theme you want to draw. If we say the theme is Batman, you could draw Robin, you could draw the Batmobile, you could draw the Batarang. You choose. But because you choose, it is completely on you as to what you choose. And I think this is a really interesting scenario. I think this is going to be an interesting test, because Ambar, you know, when as you can see on the left there, she was ranked #1 going into the tournament. You know, we knew what she could do last year. She was a finalist last year. She came in second with the top artist being Bailey Boutel. She had everything going for her, but here this scenario is clearly what it is, where this is a great looking piece. Everything that we know she can do, she does. But because the piece lacks any real, I don't want to say passion, but there's nothing that really heightens you for it. Because of that, it makes her susceptible to another artist. And I think, you know, in that case, that takes us to George O. Brooks, who I think really brought it. I think George this week, who I can't say he's always had strong pieces. I think his very first round he had Kingdom Hearts, and that was pretty decent. Second round was okay. It wasn't as strong I thought as the first round. But this piece is pretty good. And if we look at this piece, it is the Boilermaker, which is the mascot for Purdue. Not a very well-known mascot, mind you. In fact, I think the mascot notion is that this is a guy who works on like a train. So really weird stuff as a mascot, but he captured every aspect of the mascot, which is not a great looking mascot as well. Let's be clear. I mean, the Cavalier is a hell of a lot cooler looking than this guy, but then you throw on it the perspective, you throw on it the dynamic sort of look, like the way he framed the camera, that there's some action going on, even though it's not 100% clear what it is, but there's some action going on. This is a really strong piece. Like, this was a really strong piece. And, you know, hats off to George for really bringing it this week for something that, again, I doubt he's very familiar with Purdue himself. But this is a really interesting piece. What did you make of this, JR? I'll start with you.
Yes, I was going to say the perspective is really good on this one. And the way the character is framed, the little action in the front, like you can see that the motion lines really bring out sort of like that this character is getting ready to, you know, he's getting ready to school you.
Yep. I was going to say another thing too, but Raymond, let me let you go first. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this one is really strong. I mean, this one also too, if you look, you know, closely, has some very subtle texture into it too as well. But the shell shading looks really cool. I like that it took a chance with the fisheye kind of perspective, like JR was talking about. Really, really strong piece. I really like it.
And what about you, Jay?
I love the colors. The helmet is probably my very favorite. That and also the floor. I love the reflections. I feel like the background. I really like it, but I mean, I feel like it needs just a little bit more work. Like for instance, like some of the. I like the fisheye view, but I just feel like it. You know, just kind of just. Part of it seems off, but other than that, I feel like everything about this is amazing. I really like that hammer, obviously, but I really like this piece. It looks really great.
I couldn't agree more. So I agree. So it's funny. I'm with Jay 100% on this. The hammer and the helmet were what stood out to me the first. Now, knowing the mascots, the fact that he went with Purdue stood out to me immediately, because I'm like, Purdue's mascot's not, of all the mascots that are out there, it's like the least interesting mascot. And I like that he took it in a really unique direction, you know, even because he basically, what he did was he went with the mascot look as it looks as a mascot, right? Like Ambar did not do that. She took, you know, the Cavalier. He does not look like that handsome. He's not looked that normal. Like he's got a large, you know, kind of cartoony face. He took the large cartoony face of the Purdue Boilermaker and applied it with those big googly eyes and stuff, but still gave him a dynamic action and a dynamic focus and so forth. So it comes across looking weird, but it looks really, it looks captivating in its weirdness. But then you throw on the effects, the catching of the ball, the gloss on the floor, the fisheye view, the helmet, the hammer, like all of those are so well executed that, as I said, I think Ambar. I think this was a moment for Ambar to really go next level. The fact that she didn't doesn't mean that, you know, she's going to lose per se. But I think George O. Brooks did exactly what he was supposed to do. He took a concept that he might not be that familiar with. He delivered it as awesome as possible, and he just said, "Hey, I'm going to deliver the best picture I can." And folks, when you're drawing comics, that's what you got to do. And this is really good stuff. This is really, really good stuff. Like, this is a hell of a great image from George O. Brooks. So all right. So our competition is Ambar, and George O. Brooks. Those are the two. Whoops, sorry. Gotta go go backwards. Sorry about that. So with that being said, so all right, so let's go one after the other. Who liked Amber Naruto Frex work? Anybody? Jay, JR, Raymond? Was anybody with this work out of the two?
I'll say this was tough. Giorgio Brooks, his piece is just stunning. I can't take my eyes off of it. I really can't. But with Amber, her colors are just so dope, and the line work is just so clean. I gotta go. As much,
man, just say yes.
look, man. Look, man. This is tough. All right, as much as I love the George Brooks, I'm gonna give it to Amber on this, just because I love the colors and line work and the texture and the little things she did.
All right, so Amber Naruto Freck has one vote from Raymond Brown. Anybody else? Jay, JR?
I'm going with Giorgio.
The same with you, JR?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think at this point, it comes down to really the little things, and I think Giorgio Brooks brought it.
Totally
exactly.
agree. I'm with JR and Jay. So Raymond, hats off to you, buddy. But I'm sticking with those two. I love Ambar's work. I think Ambar's amazing. But this is what the term's all about. It's about taking your shots and delivering every single week, not letting up. And I think I completely agree. The color work what Ambar did is gorgeous in comparison to what Giorgio Brooks did. But at the same time, Giorgio Brooks he did every single thing he could do to make a compelling image. And at the end of the day, as I say to you guys all the time, it's not just about doing something. It's not about just doing one thing. You got to do all the things. And he did all the things here. I mean, is his color work as dynamic as hers? No. But is his color work really good? Yes, it is. Is his pose more dynamic? Yes. Did he take more chances in terms of what he attempted to do? Absolutely. Every single scenario, I thought this was really strong stuff. So I'm with JR and Jay on this. So we got 3 out of for Giorgio Brooks, 1 for Ambar Valdez Council. And with that being said, right now it looks like Giorgio Brooks is going to win this match. Now, that does not mean that's the case. You all can vote and make your voices heard. And we've seen time and time again where that has swayed what happens in the one tournament. That's why we do the live show early. There's still a whole other day. You got until 6 p.m. tomorrow to Eastern Standard Time. 6 p.m. tomorrow Eastern Standard Time to finalize your vote. So get to it, folks. Next up, we have Celestial Pulse. Yesenia, who has been with us for a little while now. This is her first tournament. She is up against Stratomeyer Art, and these are 2 super talented people. I'm going to we're going to oppose now the way we normally do these things. So it's going to basically just be 2 people at a time talking about each art. That way we can make this show move faster. So if that being said, I'm going to let Jay and JR tackle Celestial Pulse. So boys, go ahead and tell me what you think. Start with you, Jay. What do you make of Celestial Pulse's work here?
So, oh my God, no! I love the colors, the perspective. I love the nice variation between all of the characters, all of their facial expressions, and also you can look really closely. You can see variations with their actual outfits. I think it's kind of weird that there's only 3 dogs versus 4 ducks. It's kind of unfair for the dogs, but I do think it looks really, really awesome. And I love also the background is epic, really, really cool. Especially all of those characters, all of those animals. Just watching, I thought that was really awesome. I really love this piece. It is phenomenal.
All right, JR, what about you, man?
Yeah, no, I love this piece so much. I disagree with Jay. I think there should be less dogs. It's an underdog moment. They're coming back. I like how this piece it really captures this moment. Like this would be the moment when you can imagine the crowd going wild. The little effects going on there really just bring out the intensity. The color work and everything. I just love this piece.
Yeah, let me say real quickly, I totally agree. So first of all, Jay, so number one, it's a camera perspective, dude. Like there's 5 players on the court from each team at any given time, so one can assume that the way the camera's posed, the 2 other dogs are,
I get it. I was just saying. I mean, maybe have one fall in the background or something. I don't know.
Hey, you've gone this long in life, my friend, and not been into basketball, so I'm not sure you do. So, but out of the way, I understand.
I was really bad at basketball, so
you think I can dunk a basketball? I'm more likely to be the basketball than to dunk the basketball. That being said, though, let me just say that this is a great piece. This reminds me of the second year, and I don't know if for those of you who watched this tournament and watched it last year, there was a piece that was kind of like this last year. Not that Visenia copied that at all, because she clearly did not. And I'm not even trying to insinuate that, but it was a really captivating piece because it did the same thing Visenia is doing, where it gave you, like, one of the things that you will not see this week, and that you rarely will see when we make this a task or a theme, is for people to capture the intensity of the actual event of basketball itself. Meaning that rarely do you actually see the basketball. Or they'll put the basketball in there, but really will you see the court? Really will you see the stadium? Really will you see the lights? And the fact that she's letting the lights be captured here. She's got the camera framed from an ant-side view, so you're looking upward. So it just gives you the depth of how big everything is. That's a really cool thing to do for a piece like this. And it reminds me, like I said, I can't remember who it was last year. It may have been, it could have been, I think his name was maybe Richard, or even Bailey Whittle kind of did a little something like it, but there's one person in particular that did it, and they really played with the lights. And I just thought that was such a special way to do it, because again, if you're in the basketball and you've been to a basketball game, that is a part that really is beautiful about the sport, is just the way that the stadiums are erected and the way the lights cast down. So I love that. I thought it was really cool. I love the energy and just the actual athleticism being captured for sports. The expressions as well of the ducks and the dogs are great. So that was a really great piece as well. I couldn't agree with you guys more. Let's see. Next up, her opponent is Stratemeyer Art. He went, again, a slightly different route here. So Raymond, what did you make of Stratemeyer Art?
I like the colors. It almost feels like graffiti art to me a little bit. It's pretty cool looking. But yeah, I like it. It's it's not as strong as the other piece, but I still give it its credit. It's still a solid piece on its own. So really good.
Yeah, so essentially you say that because Stratemeyer Art, he is a really interesting artist. He has delivered some interesting art for us this tournament. He last week he did that. He did some of the work. His work always has really interesting color to it. To put it like that. This one is kind of what I was talking about a few minutes ago on some of Visenia's piece. This is kind of standard of what we see when it comes to this round, and it's the people really just trying to give you the character and just kind of have at it with the character. I think that I'm not quite sure. I actually don't know what this piece is meant to reflect.
Can I wait? I think I know what it is. I'm not sure if this is, but is that a stand from like JoJo, and then like his stand is helping him play basketball? Like I thought that's what it was, but
that's what I was thinking exactly. I assume that. I don't know why the stand would impact the basketball itself. I mean, the stand, the way stands typically work, right, is that they actually, they actually go out and do the stuff. So like you shoot the basketball, and then it would just you might shoot the basketball like the opposite direction, but it then would somehow float back to the basket it's supposed to go in because the stand's actually carrying the basketball. Like little weird stuff like that tends to be what the stand is. It tends to do that sort of stuff. But either way, it's really cool. The color work with it's extraordinary. And I think this is where Stratemeyer Art, because I think Raymond is dead on. I think the graffiti thing is what Stratemeyer Art really does a lot of. If you look at his previous work, to me, that's where he's really kind of come alive, is capturing that overall look. And so I like his stuff a lot. I'm a big fan of what Stratemeyer is doing. That being said, kind of like we've talked about, when you look at this piece, it does lack some of the energy of what's going on with Visenia's piece. Visenia's piece just has so much excitement with it, and Stratemeyer's piece doesn't. Now, last week, Stratemeyer did that really gorgeous He-Man piece. You remember that? You guys remember that?
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah, so I mean, so again, his color work is exceptional. Like every round, he's just really dazzled with his color work, and I'm a big fan of what he attempts to do artistically. But I think in this one, and this is more of a personality driven thing. I think the duck also looks a little strange. It's kind of got shades of Howard the Duck, but like I'm not quite sure what's going on with his feet. Like those are extremely athletic feet for a duck. It's got like those are like cankles, but it's an interesting piece. It's got a lot of personality and heart to it. And the color work is kind of go ahead.
I said one thing I'll add. I mean, at this point, pretty much, I mean, especially next week, everybody's coloring game is going to be, pretty good. It's going to be really good, actually. So it's going to really come down to, just like you said, just really going the extra mile on it next week to secure your spot. Just, doing a pose with great color is not going to be enough next week.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Stradivar art also is from the Philippines. So, yeah, I didn't want to recognize where that young man was from. So, yeah, a really great piece of work. I love the color work on it. I got to say, I love the color work on that. Like, if I had to criticize Vicinia's piece, the color work is not as strong with it. It's not as dynamic. Let me put it like that. It's not as dynamic, but it's still extremely competent, very, very attractive. I mean, so that's what we got right now. I think really, really competent, really kind of like what we just looked at the previous matchup with Ambar and George. I think, Vicinia chose to do a lot of things in this piece that she didn't have to do, but she chose to do it to really showcase all the stuff that she can do as an artist. And I think that's to her benefit, because this piece just, to me, wins in that regard. There's so much that's right about this piece that just, it's hard to go against it. But that being said, I do think Stradivar art has some gorgeous artwork. So let's see here. Who is with Celestial Pulse as winning this particular matchup? Does anyone disagree?
Nope. I'm with Celestial Pulse.
JR?
Same. Celestial Pulse, yeah.
Okay, Raymond?
Same.
Yeah, same for me as well. I think it's like I said, I think she does everything here you could do. She's got the jerseys in the rafters. Again, like I said, she's got the spotlights at the top. She's got faces in the crowd. She's got again, you can't see some of these things. You can't see the floor as much as I'd love. And again, I think that's where, again, the color work is probably the weakest part of it, because you could have seen. And I think, again, I got to go back and look at that image from last year, but that color work from when that person did it, it was the way they did those lights were so attractive, and it was so memorable because of those lights, and then it also reflected on the floor, and where she's got the camera angle makes it difficult, but it does. The colors here do feel a tad washed out in comparison to just the kind of vibrancy of Stradivar's art here. His work just looks vibrant as hell, but it is just too little to really kind of give him the edge here, despite the fact I think his color work is probably a little more dynamic than what Vicinia did. So there you go. So the matchup, just to recap, folks, if we go back into everything and look at what we've got, we start off with Ambar Naruto Freck versus Georgia Brooks. This was her piece. Really gorgeous piece. Lots of great color work to it. Really, really awesome line work with it. One thing she excels at is great line work. Unfortunately, there's just not enough going on here. And so while Raymond found this piece to be really exciting, we, the rest of us, the other three of us, chose Georgia Brooks' piece, which is dynamic. Again, the color work here is not as dramatic as what Ambar had, or not as just as lightning. In terms of just how gorgeous it is with all the pieces of it. But there's so much stuff going on here, from the speed lines with the ball to the weight that's provided via color to the helmet and the hammer, the fisheye perspective, just really, really gorgeous stuff. And the next matchup was Celestial Pulse, who was featuring Tennessee versus Oregon. She represented them as their mascot concepts. They're playing basketball. It's a tip-off. They're both going for a basket. It could be the dog trying to do a layup, or maybe he's getting the ball back from a shot that they didn't make it in. But it's just really attractive, beautiful spotlight work going on at the top of the field. Not a fisheye view, but an ant's eye view, so we're getting a chance to see the action from a different perspective. You get to see the weight of the stadium, you get to see the banners. This is a lot of detail that just demonstrates how accomplished as an artist she is. Four of us agree this was a superior piece to her opponent, Stradivar Art, who is really talented. This is some gorgeous looking color, really great personality here, but at the same time, just not enough dynamism going on in terms of all those different stuff you could do with the artwork that would make it able to challenge Vicinia for all the stuff that she actually did do. So interesting piece here. interesting contest, that's where we are. Now, once again, folks, you can dictate who advances by going to our website and voting. Look at the artwork, hit the link to vote, and then go in there and vote for the piece that you think was the best. The public vote does play a big role and can sway who goes through in the next round. We're giving you our thoughts as the judges, and our votes are weighted. We also open up to our staff. They get some votes as well, which are also weighted. Likewise, some of these artists submitted their work in early, so they'll get additional points for it, as I believe Ambar will, and as will Vicenia and Stratemeyer Art. George did not submit his work in early, so he will not get an extra vote. Likewise, if they chose a team that won, they'll get extra points. If they didn't choose a team that won, they won't get the extra points. So there's all sorts of factors to be decided here. But again, the public vote plays a big role. So if you want to help, go vote. Next up, we have Team Saigami. Now, this was reflecting the West region for the NCAA March Madness. This included 4 college teams: Michigan Wolverines, Texas Tech, I think they're called the Red Raiders, Florida State Seminoles, and the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Now, of course, all the first match of these games have been played, so we do know who won some of these matches, and we will discuss those in a moment. But for now, let's look at some really great artwork here. So first up, the first matchup. Who's the first matchup supposed to be, somebody? Who's keeping track of that?
Rachel M. Brady Art versus iChris 0001.
Got it. So Rachel M. Brady Art, who has done really amazing work throughout this tournament. She has actually found her voice, in my opinion. She's gotten stronger as time goes on.
Wait, that's the lineup for Bullet Eater. Sagami is
that is one for Bullet Eater. You're right.
Adrian Art.
Oh,
versus,
snap! Sorry.
Teaspoon Arts.
Thank you, Raymond. That's why I keep Raymond around, ladies and gentlemen. Adrian.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys.
That's why I
Adrian Art XV up against Teaspoon Arts. That is our first matchup here. Adrian Art XV versus Teaspoon Arts. Let us begin. So Adrian Art XV had Gonzaga. He has Texas Tech, and that's who he has doing their thing here. They're both going for a basket in space. I'll tell you what, I'll take this one. I'll do this one with JR, and then Jay and Raymond will do the next one. So, all right, with this piece here, we have Gonzaga Bulldog. He's reaching up into the sky, grabbing the basketball here. It's got the Saturday logo on it. It's got the March Madness logo on it. So it's really cool. Also got the icons here for the respective teams. But that's pretty much it. The 2 humanoid looking characters, the Bulldog, of course, and then, of course, the regular guy. There's some detail here. I mean, the clothes have a bit of ruffleness to it, although they don't really seem to correspond to anything. And then you've got, I do love the armpit hair. Very few artists really capture armpit hair, but considering that it is a thing, perhaps we should. I shave my armpit hair personally, but not everyone does. And so hats off to Adrian for making the armpit hair people recognizing his artwork. It's an interesting piece. We'll have to see the next piece, but this didn't. I mean, I remember when I first saw it, I was really intrigued with the idea of it. As much as there's stuff here, it didn't really draw me in from a dynamic perspective because I just kept seeing all the things that just didn't quite make sense to me. JR, what do you make of this piece?
It's really intense. I like the attempted, changing up the subject matter a little bit and taking it, off the court into space. The little bit with the Saturday AM logo and the March Art Madness was a nice touch. What I would critique about it probably was maybe I feel as though it needs a bit more foreshortening. The characters just like they're shooting up, but it still somehow feels a little bit flat.
Yeah. I think that's right. Go ahead, yeah.
Oh yeah. Other than that, like the effects are really cool. And the lighting I think works. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's really.
I was gonna take it.
I think that's really right. Yeah, no, I think that's really, really well said. I think because, like I said, because when I look at it, there's so many things I see that just don't work for me. Like, so the arms are almost identical. that are touching the ball. So like that just kind of seems a little weird to me. I think the Red Raider looks the most interesting, just because again he's got all this. He's got the facial hair, he's got the cowboy hat. But then you get down to like his arm and then the Bulldog's arm that's not grabbing the ball. Both of them kind of have a similar sort of function. Then as you go further down, you get the kind of garb, with the clothes and stuff. They all have kind of the same wrinkle approach to them. Both legs don't correspond to anything. They both, the legs both look identical. And in this case, the Red Raider comes off not as good, in my opinion, because his leg looks kind of weird and bent. I love the idea of this piece. And I love the color work of the piece. I mean, one thing Adrian Art XV reminds me of is Ambar Naruto Freck. His color work since round one has been extraordinary. He knows how to color a piece and give it a real vibrancy. And this is a stronger piece because of the color work. Once you get past it, though, some of the figure work here, though, is just where I feel kind of a loss. And I remember when he was doing a scenario with the anime characters, I forget which one it was. It reminded me of Ambar Naruto Freck from the previous year. In other words, he was capturing the anime look and style of the characters perfectly. Well, this is a scenario where you've actually got to draw characters yourself. You've actually got to give them their own vibe that comes to completely from you. Mimicking what they look like is not enough. You've actually got to give them its own agency based on your own creative ideas. And I think this is, for me, where the piece kind of just falls apart, is I don't find these characters, even though they're based off of other characters, I don't see any level of just, creative extension with Ambar was able to give us a Cavalier that looks really cool. Vicinity gave us an interesting piece with the Ducks versus Dogs. We got a really interesting piece with Stratum Art as well with the Oregon Duck. This is a case where we got these two different mascots, and neither one of them really seemed particularly compelling to me. As depicted by him, not that they're not compelling, but just as depicted by him, neither of them seem particularly compelling. It's an interesting piece. Let's see. Next up is Teaspoon Arts. She decides to just give us Gonzaga directly, and so she actually goes in and gives us some realistic depictions of these actual basketball players of the Gonzaga Bulldogs team. I recognize them immediately. Ruji Haramara, I think it's called Ruchi or Ru Hachimura. He is the black guy who is actually half Japanese, so he's a really interesting figure. And so, yeah, this is a really interesting piece here. Raymond and Jay, Raymond, for you first. What do you make of this piece?
I love the facial expression on what's the guy's name? The one on the left, the Japanese and black guy.
Well, the Japanese black guy is the dark skinned one. You mean the one on the right?
Oh, wait. Oh, okay, the one on the right. Oh, no, the one behind the dog.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's I forget his name, but yeah, okay. I think he's biracial as well, but I don't know his name. I can't remember his name.
Okay, but yeah, I like the facial expression on him. The dog. I think his teeth are breaking, so it's kind of cool. The only thing I'll say is I see that I've seen this when I look through the art. With this one, they do it, and the one before it does it as well, but they kind of use the basketball kind of to hide things. Right. Like with this one, the ball is in a position where it's no real context to what's happening. Like I don't know if he's trying to dunk. I don't know if the ball is rebounding. He's trying to catch it. So maybe just putting some fingers around it or something just to kind of give some context and make the ball feel a part of the artwork would have been good.
Yeah, I will say that, right. Ruji Hachimura's arm, like, it just disappears behind the basketball. And the basketball, even if, let's say that they're further back, even though it looks like they're closer up, they're actually further back. So the camera's set up in a way to where the ball's bouncing off the rim. And maybe they're going to go get the ball, or maybe the ball's coming from them and it's coming towards the basket. But again, imagine that they are actually further back than what they appear. If that's the case, again, Ruji Hachimura's arm should not just disappear behind that ball. And I totally, especially the way it's depicted, right? If you saw the top of the shoulder and perhaps his arm is going back, is going back out a little bit, then possibly. But the way his arm is depicted from the shoulder blades, that it's actually going straight up. So that arm, based on how tall he is, should appear somewhere behind that ball. If his hand was gripping the ball, then that would be ridiculous because that ball is too big for his hand to grip. So there's all sorts of problems there. I agree with you. The ball is hiding stuff, and I agree with you. The last piece, the ball is hiding stuff as well. Jay, what did you make of this?
It this piece kind of reminded me. It looks like some type of like a postcard or something, like an image that would be on a postcard. Like I liked that it's really stylistic. The textures and the like the speed line going towards the ball. But I mean, everything that you guys said, you hit the nail right on the head. Because I mean, his arm just disappearing like that is just weird. I can't not look at it. And also, I think the dark blue behind it kind of, I don't know. I feel like that's honestly the thing that makes it look more like a postcard. So I like it, but it just kind of, makes it seem kind of off as well. But the one thing that I do love about this picture is that dog's expression and the hearts in its eyes. Clearly, it loves basketball. So I really like that. That was my favorite part about this picture.
Totally agree. Totally agree. The dog is I agree. Dog is the best part of the picture. Engaging. If you love dogs and you love the smile on that dog's face, and it's just it's a great pick. And again, I do like the fact that she's capturing the likenesses. I agree as well. The facial expression of the lighter skinned guy is fantastic. So there's a lot here to like. So to me, both of these pieces is a tough one because I think both these pieces are challenging. Because I think both these pieces have things that work and things that don't work, and I think that's what you recognize when you look at both of these pieces together. So let's just go back to the beginning then. Regarding Adrian Art XV, how many people here are with this piece? How many people here vote for this piece to win this matchup?
I'll vote for it.
I like it was like a charity vote for you, Jay. You're like, I'll do it. All right, so Jay Odin. What about you, JR? Are you with this
I'm
piece?
also for Adrian.
You're with Adrian. All right. What about you, Raymond?
Same.
Wow. Okay. Ironically enough, I went with Teaspoon Art, so I'm the one man out on this one. I think the fact, like I said, there's not enough stuff at all that I can look at with the Gonzaga Texas Tech, but who, by the way, are actually playing right now. They're going to start playing right now. So that's an interesting piece. So we'll see. Perhaps he'll pick up. Adrian will pick up two points off of that. I can't remember if Adrian got his work in early, but I don't think he did. But either way, he'll pick up 2 points if Gonzaga or Texas Tech win. He'll pick up 2 bonus points for that. But yeah, I think for me, this piece right here, I just couldn't get with. I mean, as much as I love the color work, as much as I love him trying to do something different with it, everything else just doesn't work. Like the hands behind the ball don't work. The arms holding the ball don't work. The arms not holding the ball don't work. I mean, the Bulldogs' arm is huge, and both of them have it's like everything. They just mirror each other. Their lower body doesn't work. I mean, you would imagine the Bulldog is the way that he's built. Even though we're talking about a Bulldog as a human character, but you would imagine that his legs would be bigger than that. So I mean, it's just some stuff here that just don't quite add up for me when I look at it. But I do love that color work. The reason I choose Teaspoon Art's work though is that there's still stuff here that doesn't work. I think the background not really being there was lazy or just doesn't really capture what I would like to see with it. It's not enough stuff there. But the detail in the faces is fantastic. And that's something that, again, it's rare to do it. And I've said before to you, one of the skill sets that is super hard to do is to draw animals. When you see somebody drawing an animal, give them love because that's really hard to do. And Teaspoon Arts really delivers on those 2 counts, facial expressions, the dog. That's hats off on that. That's to me fantastic. So I go Teaspoon Arts with this. So let's see here. We next up have JT Lucas, and he's going up against I forgot the young man's name. Is it Bezin Art? Is that who he's going up against? It's no, Mookie Monk. So JT Lucas here from America. Let's see. He is clearly doing the Michigan Wildcats versus Texas Tech Red Raiders, and I assume he's saying Michigan's going to win. Boy, is he wrong on that one. So let's go. Let's start with JR. JR, what did you make of this piece?
I think guys will find I really like pieces that just capture moments. And pieces that exude confidence, and this one does in 2 fronts. One, like, feels though the art is very confident, and also like who he thinks is going to win. I like the background. You can see like the one mascot's face in like the jumbotron back there. I think that was a nice touch, as well as the little dust effects on there. I don't know if the perspective works entirely. Something just feels off about it. But other than that, I'd say color is strong, background is strong, and the moment's strong.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that for me that what makes it is that top part with the screen. That I think that because it's a level of personality being delivered that just again far too frequently when artists do this, they're so scared about not knowing anything about the subject matter that they're just trying to just basically kind of do it justice, which is admirable, but they're not actually trying to bring themselves into it and just deliver what they want to do, which is again something I give Amber Naruto credit for. You know, her vision of the Oregon Duck and Cavalier was her vision. Like even though it's boring, there's not much happening in it. That was her depiction of it, and I can't say for every artist that they really do that. Yes, it's drawn in their style, but rarely do we actually see the way that they view these things. This is J.T. Lucas, hands down. Like everything in this piece is clearly J.T. Lucas, and I love that. And yes, he is giving us some really definitive decision here, even though Michigan did lose. but I think it's a great piece. I think it's a really beautiful piece. I love as well as the background. This is a background with the way that the lighting is hitting here, and it's not the most dynamic lighting, but the way he's got the lighting targeted with, because I disagree with you on that, JR. I think the perspective works great, and I think the way the lighting hits it in particular gives the way he's got the lighting with the mesh with the perspective makes it look a million times more dramatic. Right, it's a lower light level, so it makes it look a bit more cinematic. The camera angles from the anti view up, so the character is glooming another character, and then the payoff, you get to see what that character's face expression is in the jumbotron. I think it's a really great piece, really solid piece. Next up, we have Moki Monk. She also had Michigan going up against Gonzaga, and so what do you make of this, Mr. Raymond Brown?
I love this piece. I love the color work. I wish I can color like that. I mean, it looks really good. The only thing, my only gripe with it is the floor and the background. It's like, you know, I don't know if she, you know, ran out of time or what, but you know, the floor and that stadium where the people are at. I probably, you know, I may have, if she's going to do that, should have just like blurred it some more so it's not so obvious. But it's, you know, if it was just the characters and maybe a cool background and color palette, it probably would have been a little bit better. But I love the color on the characters. Not in love with the background.
All right. What about you, Jay Odin?
Yeah, I love the colors of this. The action is pretty cool. You know, there's some issues obviously, but I mean, you know, you can see that, you know, they're going after the ball or, you know, they're running. I really like her style. If I'm not mistaken, this is Kiera Reddy, right? I know she goes by Monkey Bug now, but is this not? It is okay. Yeah, I remember she did a piece last year and with animal dogs, and it looked like a poster. It was amazing. And you know, as a fan of her artwork, I love this piece. But as a judge, there are issues with it. With obviously the background, you know, I wish that, you know, maybe some more you know, work would have been involved. Like all those people, if they were cheering, that would have probably made it look a little bit more exciting. The floor, obviously, you know, I think the floor could be a wash if maybe the shadows were a little bit more accurate. I feel like that's obvious to me, like the biggest thing that's kind of like, you know, weird. And also on a side note, because I think it was Zion Williamson. I was doing a lot of research for him, and I saw like he had his own like Michael Jordan type pose. It would have been really cool to like have that on like one of these to like just say, hey, this is March Madness, even though I'm not sure if that's a thing yet. But I mean,
what her teams were, she didn't have Duke as one of her teams.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, all right. Well, I mean, even so, I really like this piece. Other than all those other things I just said, but yeah, as a fan of her artwork, I love the coloring and all of that.
I love. Folks, what you have to love about this tournament is the realness of our conversations. We keep it real, and I love Jay being like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah." Well, then let me correct what I said. Yeah, I like her stuff. You know, let me say this. You know, Kiara is interesting to me, and I've said this before. Kiara to me is so capable to do so many different things, and she's also very young. And so I've watched her now for, I think it's almost 3 tournaments, because I think she was in our very first tournament. She was definitely in 2017, and then she was in 2018 as well. And and she was also in our original pilot manga group. And so I remember just seeing her work and just thinking to myself, man, this young woman is super talented. But then when I got to know her, she's super young. I bring that up to say that, so looking at this, like, I agree, like this has, all of her pieces this year have struck me the same way. They're not particularly imaginative. There's not a lot going on there. There's very limited backgrounds. There's not a lot of dynamism in terms of what the characters are doing. It's just not there. When I saw this piece, the one thing about it that caught me, though, and I must say that kind of appeals to me a little bit, is that she strikes me that, first of all, if you've been around, I'm old, as you guys know, I'm old. But I think Raymond and probably Jay can appreciate this. Jay, you may be too young. I don't know on this one, but I think Raymond and Jay, because both of them, I know Raymond in particular, because I know he reads a lot of Marvel comics. But what the thing for me is when you see an artist kind of go through a transition with how they do art. So they have a style that really works for them. It's where they get their popularity, it's where they get their fame from. And then, after they do it for a while, they just get older and they start maturing. Some artists, and I don't want to say laziness, so let me strike that from my lexicon in this context, because I'm not trying to suggest there's laziness to it. But some artists, they don't regress. It's just that they kind of like, they know what works. They just kind of find a way to make it consistent without, rocking the boat. So you end up with folks who are like, John Byrne, who was a hero of mine as a kid when I was growing up. And as you got older with John Byrne, he was still a superstar, but his work kind of fell flat because a lot of his characters just started looking the same, right? Once you got through him at his peak, kind of like a basketball player, not those of you who don't follow sports, kind of like a basketball player, you have that time when you peak, right? When you're young, you're exciting, you got flashes of brilliance. Then with basketball, around 26, 27, 28, you start hitting your peak. You literally are at the best of everything that you can do. Then as you fade into your later years, you're not as fast anymore, you're not as dynamic anymore. Some of the things that you used to be able to do, you can't do. So you kind of rely on the things that you can do well, and that just kind of becomes your thing. And you score less points, you attract less people in terms of being fans, because they were fans of yours back in the day, so either they're still with you or they're not. But that's kind of how it goes. Some artists, just like some basketball players, some athletes, they reinvent themselves, and their work takes on a different feel. So one of the real famous examples of this in comic book history when I was a kid was a guy named Keith Giffen. And Keith Giffen. And Keith Giffen, he was the artist of one of my all-time favorite comic books, literally one of my all-time favorite comic books. If you love My Hero Academia, you would love DC Comics' Legion of Superheroes, because it was My Hero Academia 50 years before My Hero Academia came out. And it was just awesome. And he came onto the book and just completely redefined it for future generations. Like he rewrote the map on how you drew Legion Super, how you drew future comics, how you drew just everything. Then after like a really successful run on Legion Superheroes, because at one point Legion Superheroes, New Teen Titans by George Perez, the iconic George Perez, like they were kicking Marvel's butt. DC was back in the early 80s, and Marvel was like the 800-pound gorilla, but DC was killing them, right? Right before Dark Knight Returns came out, Watchmen came out, they were giving you New Teen Titans with George Perez and Batman and the Outsiders, and then Legion of Superheroes, all by these really iconic artists. And when Keith Giffen got to a certain point, he then decided he got bored, and he wanted to change his style. He found an artist, I think out of like Argentina, and he was like, man, I really love this guy's style, and he began trying to mimic it. This has happened to many artists over the years. Another example was Jim Lee tried to do this with Frank Miller. When Frank Miller came out after Jim Lee had all the success with X-Men and created Wildcats, he became a multimillionaire, all these various things. Frank Miller comes out with Sin City, and it just completely rewrites the map of what you can do with comic books. So Jim Lee then decided to do that art style. And he did that art style in a comic he did called Death Blow. I think it was called Death Blow. Really silly comic. And then he also repeated it for Batman Hush during the sequences where Batman is thinking back to his past, and he delivers it in this kind of like obscure watercolor mix. Now, Jim Lee's an extraordinary artist, can do anything, but that sort of boredom comes in. I say all of that to say that I look at Kiara and I wonder if this is where she's actually doing something different with her style. If she's saying, you know what, like, I'm not comfortable doing what I did before. Because what she did before, when we first discovered her artwork, was really detailed. Her line work was always simple. That's a hallmark of hers. But it just had a different energy to it. It was more detailed, more fleshed out. If you look at every entry she's had thus far this year, for this year's tournament, it's really simple. Not a lot of backgrounds. Colors are very straightforward. She does a lot of shading to her characters in terms of like their faces or their arms, their legs, what have you. But for the most part, it's really, really basic. Like, she's not trying to give you a lot. She's trying to go back to a more minimalist state, which was not at all what her artwork was like before. I find it interesting. I don't know if it's going to work ultimately, but it is interesting. Like, I'm beginning to appreciate it now as a style that she has, as opposed to what I initially felt, which was like, man, this chick is phoning it in. Because I know she can do more stuff than she's giving us, but she's just phoning it in now because she's not giving us a lot of detail. So when I look at it from that perspective, I can appreciate it, even though it is really minimalist. Like, there's just not, like, this piece is not particularly, detailed or dramatic or interesting. And that's interesting. That's just kind of fascinating to me. At the same time, I can look at it and say, but maybe it's meant to be this kind of iconic sort of look. She's not going for something that can be really radically unique. She's going for something that just kind of is a vision of just kind of simplicity. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody. Again, I'm old, so I don't know if you all catch all of the things I was talking about there, but I do think there's something going on with her work that is interesting, that makes you want to pay attention to it, but also doesn't quite. It's not going to be as dramatic as some people might want. It's going to be, more static, I guess, the best way to put it. Kind of Jack Kirby-ish, but not obviously nowhere near Jack Kirby. But does that make sense at all, Raymond? You know what I'm talking about at all? Because you're the only other old guy here, kind of. Raymond?
I was going to say that, I mean, it looks like I really like the simplicity of it, but if it was like a coloring book or something, maybe if she's going towards that type of style, like an illustration, I like that. Maybe that's what she's going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And I don't know what happened to Raymond.
No, I'm here. Sorry, I my thing cut off and I couldn't find the unmute button. But yeah, to that scenario that you're talking about, first person come to mind is Joe Mad. He openly admits that, like, he has the same strongman pose every time. Like, he has like a handful of strongman poses that he draws. He'll just draw, Hulk on top of it. He'll draw, Thor on top of it or whatever it may be. But he, going back to that kind of what you were talking about, where they kind of get to a place where they kind of can't, not can it in, but, they kind of have, they fall into what they're, what they do. But, yeah, with this one, yeah, I can see what you mean. It's definitely her. But I would actually, not to make it longer, but I would actually kind of disagree, because a lot of the stuff, every time I think of her, I think about that Pocahontas one that she did.
Yeah.
And that one was, this has a lot more going on than that one. Like she, some of the ones that I saw from her, the characters literally weren't doing much. A lot of them were just kind of standing and hanging out. But this one,
I'm talking about this year.
Oh yeah, well, I'm saying overall, like I'm noticing that, as you're talking about her style. I'm noticing that she, she's this year she's going more balls to the wall as far as like trying different things and being more dynamic than she was in previous years.
That's probably, you have to say. I mean, we have to see. I know. I've looked at her work, and it just struck me as being a bit different. I've seen just different things happening with her this year than before. Last week she did the PewDiePie piece. There wasn't a lot of going on. There was a lot of stuff going on with the characters. There wasn't a lot going on outside of that. And then the first week she did the Powerpuff Girls, and that one was like just normal background, sky background, and colors are vibrant. Her color work is really extraordinary, and her line work is always super sharp. But it's kind of where it stops it. But again, it's just, it's interesting. What she's delivering, I think you have to look at it closely to see what she's delivering. I think there's something to be said about what she's delivering.
One last thing I'll add is I think she, as she matures as an artist and stuff like that, she's good at making the characters the star of the show. Like with the Powerpuff Girls and this one. Yeah. Everything makes the characters the star of the show.
That's why I said, you know, I mean, if you go back, if you look at classic Marvel comics, like when I look at her, and I know she has no idea what the hell I'm talking about here, so she's not just going to go in one ear, not the other. But when I think about when I was a kid and was growing up, you've got artists like, again, the great Jack Kirby, Sal Buscema, John Romita, like they had this George Tuska, like they had this very, like everything they did was kind of exaggerated. But again, it brimmed with personality. Today, kids will look at it and go like, oh, this is boring. But back then, it had like loads of personality, even though it was very simplistic. And I think that's what I'm seeing with her work. I couldn't agree with you more. Her work gives me that, and I'm beginning to think that is by design. I think she's being comfortable, even though she might not know who those people are. She's being comfortable with just, again, kind of going this minimalist route. Like she's not trying to like insert you into a living environment. She's trying to insert you into sort of a kind of feel. And that's where it kind of comes in, and making the characters really the star of it. And I think that you're right. She's doing that here. Like I said, I look at this piece, and I really like just, again, like the characters are big. Like again, like the characters are big. Like their proportions are big. Like the bulldog's like leg and his back make no sense whatsoever. But you know, like it's not relative to the floor at all. Like there's stuff that just doesn't work. But in terms of like a straightforward, like replace that image. That's why I say about Jack Kirby. Replace the Michigan Wolverine with like Thor, and replace the Bulldog with like, you know, I don't know, Carnage or Executioner, and give it like a Jack Kirby sort of sensibility to it, and it'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? Like it's just a kind of iconic sort of simplistic sort of iconic feel to it, but it's not really a like it's operating on that level. I think. Again, I might be reading way more into it than what she currently intends, but either way, let's get back to who wins this matchup. So there's Milky Monk, and there's JT Lucas. What do we think? Who wins this matchup? Let's start with you, Jay. Who wins this matchup?
I'm going with JT Lucas.
Going with JT Lucas. What about you, JR?
I'm also going to say Lucas. I can't get over that Jumbotron.
All right, Raymond, what about you?
Saying that Jumbotron killed me, man. That's good. So
yeah, and I'm the same way. I'm with JT Lucas here. I think the piece is really dynamic. I think that again, like I said, there's so much stuff I like with here. And again, it's not, to be clear, JT Lucas is very simplistic in his art as well. Like, JT Lucas does not give you just tons of work on the arms. You can see all the muscles and all the snooze, and like his, the clothes aren't like all, you can see all the layers of clothes. You can there's so much detail in the clothes. You can tell if it's actually nylon or cotton. Like, that's not who JT Lucas is. He's far simpler than that. At the same time, he recognizes how to create dimension and just kind of like, and be able to tell a story with just everything, with really having a real deep understanding of color and positioning and, how to draw a particular character. There's just so much stuff here. And I think this piece really captures that, because the lighting here makes this far more dramatic and detailed than it needed to be. And that's great. And then added personality. Like that's I don't know this young man. I've never met him before, but every piece he's ever done has given us glimpses into his personality. And as a result of that, the Jumbotron, I think, just captures it. Like, that's his personality, to capture the character and then put it up on the screen like that. And so that we get the payoff to the comedy of this piece is just really great. And like I said, with Kiara, with Milky Monk's piece, like I said, the more I look at it, the more I like it. I look at I love the color. I love the simplicity of the character. I love her simple line work. My God, I love that. But I think, again, this is a scenario where there's, it's just not dramatic enough. There's not enough going on here for it to really compete with what JL Lucas
JT Lucas is just he's a master of telling the story with this. Yeah. Like that to me, that's what it comes down to. Like I like Kiara's character design better, but the story you can't deny like the storytelling that's going on in JT's piece.
Agreed. Totally agree. All right, so then, folks, let's just recap here. Let's do the recap. All right, let's recap this bad boy. So, folks, in this particular group, Sagami, this was covering the West region for the NCAA. You had Michigan, Texas Tech, Florida State, and Gonzaga Bulldogs. The very first matchup was Adrian Art XV versus Teaspoon Arts and with Adrian Art XV. This was a piece that all three of our artists enjoyed. All of our judges tonight enjoyed this piece. I felt this piece had too much kind of there was a lot of stuff that just didn't grab me. I thought the arms here were kind of weird. The legs here were weird. I do love the Texas Tech Red Raider. I love this facial expression. The ball is hiding the hands. I will say as well that the color work here is exceptional. But when I compared it to Teaspoon Arts personally, there's just more personality here. Drawing dogs, drawing any animal is really hard. She pulls that off easily. She's got facial expression, which is also hard to do. She pulls that off pretty strongly as well. So even though this piece is has less, aspects to it that really capture all the things that the artist can do. Here, there's a lot of really cool stuff here that I like a great deal. So, big fan of Teaspoon Arts for me. So it's one. So she got 1 vote out of 3. The other 3 went to Adrian Art XV. Next up, we have JT Lucas, this young man from America. I think he's like an animation student. I can't remember exactly his background, but great piece here featuring Michigan versus Texas Tech. Now, Michigan did lose their game, so he's not going to get extra points for that, but hats off to him for at least trying to depict it. Versus Moki Monk, who drew Michigan and Gonzaga. Michigan got beaten as well. Both of them, in fact, chose had the wrong team featured. Although, Gonzaga's still in tournament, so Carroll will get some points for that. And Texas Tech is still in the tournament, so will JT Lucas. That being said, good stuff. I think all of us, however, were unanimous for JT Lucas, and so he's going to win this matchup. So that is it for the first 2 regions. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. I want you guys to take a moment because there's a lot of excitement. You're getting a lot of information. You're looking at really beautiful artwork. And I know that when you got all that stuff going on, it makes it hard to concentrate. So I know sometimes you got to go pee-pee. Then you got to use the bathroom. Then you got to feed yourself some coffee or some tea. Some of you might need to, just if your child comes in the room, pet your child's head. Let them know that you care. That's what you need to do, folks. In the meantime, I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened with round 2, and we will answer questions, though, at the end of the tournament. So let me first of all state again that we are really excited to have Chameleon Art Products as a sponsor. I'm gonna disable this for a second here as I shift gears. Again, we're really excited to have Chameleon Art Products as a sponsor. Now, folks, we'll talk about round 2. We're going to talk about that in a second. Let me talk about round 2. Round 2, we had some great artists participate with round 2. We did have a scenario, though, where one artist who we talked about their work last week. We gave it props that the artist actually won the matchup. But then we were notified that artist had actually copied their design from another artist on DeviantArt. It was heartbreaking because this young artist seems like he's really talented. He has a lot of talent, that's clear. But evidently something this artist has done once before as well. So I don't know how true that is, but that was something that in our investigation turned out to be something that people felt. Even though we could prove that they clearly ripped off another artist. I think that the thing with this that I want to make sure everyone understands is that, first of all, folks, that you don't have to do that. You really don't have to do that. It's when you do stuff like that, it is demoralizing to the artist who you're stealing artwork from, because that's just, people draw this stuff, and as all the 3 artists who can tell you, you're not going to get rich drawing comics, folks. It's like being in the NBA. You might be really good at playing basketball in your neighborhood or in your family. You may have a chance to play basketball, for your high school. Then you may get a chance to go to a good school or top school in basketball, get recruited, they pay for your education, stuff like that. But none of those scenarios guarantee you a chance to play in the NBA. And if you do get in the NBA, to actually last past 7 years, which most NBA players, or a good chunk of them, don't, no guarantee you'll get that either. So that's how hard it is. At every level, it's hard to actually succeed at this. Comics are the exact same way. And so to do something where you steal from another artist is just, it's mind blowing, because it doesn't help you in the long run, particularly when you have talent like this person did. That doesn't help you. In this case, for the tournament, this is a tournament that's seen by thousands of people around the world, and so when you do something like that, you're putting yourself on blast as well from thousands of people. This is the internet; they will find it. If you stole someone's artwork, they'll find that out. Someone will find it out, and then they'll blast you for it. Now, we've never named this person. We're not going to name this young person, because I believe that young people make mistakes, and they deserve to have a chance to learn from it. Nobody died, nobody was hurt, but at the same time, it is infuriating because we do this tournament because we want to shine a light on young or new creators. And when you do something like that, you're hurting all of that. You're hurting us. You're hurting the reputation of this brand. You're hurting our relationship with vendors who, they're wanting to work with us because we've got a great tournament with great artists, and they don't want to be associated with people who are stealing artwork. You hurt again the artists you stole artwork from, but ultimately you hurt yourself because, again, this is a very small industry. I remember Raymond. He and I just went to a Comics Pro show, which was this international retail conference I told you about. And Raymond's worked with me now for 5 years, and he's had a chance to see us do a lot of cool stuff. He's had a chance to see things from a perspective that he hadn't seen before. And I remember at this Comics Pro show, this is the first time I had gone to the show, but this was the first time I'm an executive, former executive in the video game industry. I've been to lots of these shows. I've met a lot of these people. I've worked with some of these people directly or personally. And so he had a chance to see just how much I had a chance to interact with these people. And he said to me, he's like, I began to realize how small this industry is. And that's something that I wish so many young folks will understand, is that this is a really small world, very small world. And so when you're doing something that can come back on you, again, I'm not a believer of throwing the book at you. I'm not a believer of you having to pay a lifelong price because you did something wrong when you were younger. I think that's ridiculous. But at the same time, you have to know that, particularly you guys do, because that's not necessarily true of my generation, but for your generation, you have to know that those choices you make can affect how people view you. And you can't mandate that people treat you nicely if they feel like you're a bad person. So again, folks, please take that to heart. Do not steal artwork. And I just want to say this for the young folks in particular who are watching this. Inevitably, there's going to be someone who says, but I really like that pose from Batman. Are you saying like this cool Jim Lee pose from Batman, I can't do something like it? And the answer, and this is the part that frustrated me with the young man who did the thing last week, was that, folks, you can see artwork that you like and choose to be inspired by it. The example I always use is that some artist was the first artist to draw Superman flying. Some artist was the first artist to draw Superman flying with his hand out, right? With Superman's hand out. I don't know who that was. I don't know if it was Joe Simon. I don't know if that was Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. I don't know if that was Kurt Swan. I don't know who that was. But someone was the first artist to do that. Are we saying that every artist who's ever drawn Superman with his arms out, because by the way, folks, if you were to fly, that's not necessarily how you would fly, right? It doesn't make a difference. So you might have to flap your damn arms. Who knows? But the fact that they depicted it that way to demonstrate his heroism and to give him sort of an iconic look when he flies, someone did that and other artists adopted it. So the point here is that when you're drawing in a tournament like this, and folks, we're going to be doing more of these tournaments. That's why I'm spending time talking about this. But when you're drawing and you see an image that you really want to be inspired by, you can be inspired by it. But let's say it's Batman standing on a gargoyle, something we've seen 1,000 times. Well, you can do that image, but maybe you just shift the camera angle a little bit. Maybe you draw it from the back. Maybe you draw it from the side. If it's Thor, if it's Wolverine, get ready to jump into a thicket of ninjas and he's got his claws pop, whatever. Maybe you draw it from the perspective of the ninja. Maybe you draw it from over Wolverine's head. Maybe you draw it inside view or something like that. Maybe you draw him slashing someone from the glare of his blade. The point is that of his hand knives or whatever you call those things. I think the bottom line here is that we all get inspired by work. There's no artist who will participate in March Madness or draws comics professionally ever who's never seen a piece of artwork that inspired them but they didn't copy in some way. There's no artist that's never done that. So the idea that that's never going to happen is crazy. That's just not reality. But you can control and you should be responsible for how you use the inspiration that's been given to you. And that's the key thing. Please think responsibly when it comes to how you use the inspirations that drive you, because that's really what matters. You don't have to draw Batman. You can draw the same pose, but you can draw it from a different camera angle. You don't have to draw it the exact same way. We've seen people rip off Saturday M artwork The best example being someone ripped off my character, Clock Striker. She was illustrated by Morgan Walker, the creator of Soul Beat, and they copied it verbatim. So much so that I didn't even realize that they had. Like, I just thought they had taken a picture of what she drew, but they had copied it and were taking credit for it. And it was a young man who got offended then when I called him out for doing that without giving credit from the artist that he stole it from. He's like, "Why? I drew it." It's like, because you didn't. You literally copied from what you saw before. And it's disrespectful to the artist, disrespectful to us because we own the character. I own the character. It's disrespectful to me. And it was the fact that this young man just couldn't see what he did wrong. So that's what we've got to try to do. We got to try to, work on that. We got to try to, want everyone to be inspired by that. Be inspired by trying to do the right thing so that you can really propel your career forward. Because I'm telling you, this industry is very small. Do something on a big scale like this, where your work. By the way, we've not used that artist's work since then. I refuse to show that artist's work because I don't want that artist, first of all, being notified and then being pilloried for it. He doesn't deserve that. But at the same time, he also doesn't deserve to get credit for work where he's stealing from other artists. So I hope that is made clear. I hope everyone gets my message about that. So now we're getting ready to start back up. But before we do that, of course, I want to take a moment. I got to take a moment. It'd be crazy for me not to take a moment and talk about our good friends, Chameleon Art Products. Now, folks, you go to their website. It is chameleonartproducts.com. If you go there, you're going to have a chance to choose which of the regions belongs to you. If you're in North America or if you're in New Zealand, Australia, choose. And you can see here all the different type of products that they have. They've got various pen types. They even have a coloring book. They've got colored pencils. And of course, they have their very unique color tops. Now, Jay, I want to take a moment as we talk about Chameleon Art Products, and I want you to tell everybody now, because you draw work traditionally, but you also draw it digitally. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So tell us what's different between drawing digital versus traditional.
The biggest difference is the cost. When you draw anything digitally, once you buy the program or buy the equipment like the Wacom tablet or the iPad, you have it, and all you got to do now is just keep on using it. Whereas when you do traditional, you got to buy the markers constantly, you got to buy the paper, you got to buy everything. I will say it is, for me, it's more fun to draw traditionally, just to do an illustration or whatever. I'm weird. I like my hands dirty. But when I draw comic books, I feel like it's way better to draw it digitally because you can erase better and, manipulate certain things a lot easier.
And so when it comes to markers, and we've talked about this internally so many times, but when it comes to markers and you have a chance to produce work with markers, what is the interesting thing about producing work with markers? What effect does it give you when you're producing work and you're skilled to produce work with markers? How unique is the artwork?
As unique as it can be. I mean, I love drawing, coloring with Prismacolor markers and Copic markers. But right now, I'm really looking forward to trying out these chameleons. The blending is going to be a very, very fun thing to do because usually when I have to blend with Prismacolor markers or Copic, I gotta constantly go over the same thing, and I gotta use a bunch of different markers, which can be fun, but sometimes it's tiresome. So I want to see how Chameleon's gonna work. I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, that's great. Well, then good. I'm looking forward to this. Then I think this is some really good looking stuff. Then I mean, Chameleon Art is some fantastic products, folk, and I hope you guys will give this a chance to check this out. This is really exciting stuff. Really strong stuff, and I think that if you have a chance to check out their work, you'll be really excited with the quality of the art you can produce. Artists on Instagram like Vex, and what's the other artist's name? Was it Jizza? Driga? Jazza.
Jazza. Yeah, I think Jazza and a few other YouTubers actually did a few reviews. So
yeah. So these are folks that have done amazing work. I mean, and they've profiled Chameleon Art Products, done a great job with it. They had millions of views for it. So Chameleon they're burning up. So folks, check them out. We're really honored again that they're sponsoring this year's March Art Madness. We're going to be doing some more work with them. They've honored, as we said earlier in the show, 2 artists in previous rounds. They'll be doing the same thing for the 3rd round. So really looking forward to this. Can't wait to see what they come up with. So, all right. So let's get on to the next thing here. Let's see here. So, folks, I see that there's some folks chatting in the thing. So I hope you guys are keeping everything kosher. I saw that Adrian came in and said that someone's accusing him of copying and pasting Vicinity designs. I don't know who's doing that. Why are you guys doing that? So I hope you guys please don't cause drama in our chat, folks. Please don't do that. All right, so let's get back to it then. Give me a second here. I'll pull up the broadcast. We're gonna hit the final 2 groups. All right, so next up we have, this is Team Apple Black, and it's the NCAA Midwest region. This is what Apple Black group was facing off on. This is my UNC Tar Heels that lost last night. Painful. They lost to the Auburn Tigers. It's so painful. Anyways, really interesting. Let's see. So we're going to try to go through this and see, go through each matchup in this group. There's 4 artists who participated within this group, and see who won this particular matchup. So let's start what we've got here. So first off, we have Cyan Art. She's from she's from the Virgin Islands. So I really think that's just awesome. She's from the Virgin Islands. She's got a really interesting piece here, and she was going up against Audrey Scribbles, who's from the U.S. 2 really, really talented ladies. So why don't we start off with this piece here? I'm going to let JR and Raymond look at this one. So JR, what did you make of this piece? This is Kentucky Wildcats versus I don't know what that is. I don't know. This is a really funky piece. So really funky piece, actually. What did you make of this, JR?
Yeah, I feel like with a lot of these pieces, there's really great color work, and you can see it again here. The general gradient from blue to red is really attractive to look at. I love the lighting, that bright light at the top corner over there, and the perspective is really nice. The effects are really cool. There's hard to really give any any harsh critique on it. I love just the angle and the effects and the lighting. It's really just a nice piece.
Okay, yeah. So she said it's North Carolina. So it's my school, and that makes it hurt even more. In fact, the thing that hurts even more, Cyan Arts, is that not only is it my team, but both teams you picked got beaten last night. So it hurts. It hurts my heart. Oh, no, it's Kentucky Wildcats. Never mind, it's Kentucky Wildcats. My bad. So yeah, so actually I'll talk about this one. I'll tell you what, I'm going to bump whoever's going to talk about this because I'm going to talk about this because it's Carolina. So it took me. So I did not know it was Carolina. I guess it's hard to make out because this is. So let me say this was a smaller image that you did, Cyan. This is a smaller piece because I remember when I was having to stretch this for this presentation. I really had to stretch it. Like this was a much smaller. This was more vertical than horizontal, so it wasn't very wide. It was very thin, very tall. So I had to stretch it just to make out more details of it. Now I'm old, so that's just me. But it did make me kind of have to look at it really closely. And even then, I couldn't make out who the other guy was. I think now I'm starting to see it. I guess he's got horns. Is that supposed to be horns on the ram's head horns on this side? Versus the Wildcat, which is drawn as an actual humanoid kind of werewolf type of creature. I couldn't agree more. This seems to me like a graphic design piece, and I feel like Cyan has a graphic design background because this is just such a really interesting piece. You can see this in like a magazine article or something like that. Really dynamic color work, a really unique camera perspective, exaggerated a little bit, like the feeling of it's a little exaggerated. Really, really, really cool piece. I like this a lot. Love the lighting effect at the top. Like again, this is one of those things where the spotlight at the top of in the stadiums like those make a huge difference to just the cinematic feel of the event when it's happening, and I feel like that is really captured here. So this is a really dynamic, like really, really dynamic piece. I mean, a lot of chances being taken on the color work in particular that she didn't have to do that she's doing, and it just gives it a unique aspect to it. So anyway, really interesting piece here. Let's see. Next up is her opponent is Audrey Scribbles. And this is also my UNC Tar Heels. Yay, everybody's give my UNC Tar Heels some love. I'm not sure what they're going up against. I guess I'm not sure if that's Kentucky Wildcat or I might assume that's Houston. I assume that's the Houston. It could be Auburn. No, it's not Auburn Tigers. It's got to be Houston. What'd you make of this, Jay Oden?
Sorry, let me get back to my notes. Okay, yeah, I wish there actually was a little bit more going on. As I'm looking at it again, I really like the subtle speed lines. I thought that was actually something that was really cool. The vibrant colors is very bright, especially compared to Zion Arts. But I wish that they were doing a little bit more. Adrian Scribbles usually draws like a bunch of characters. I wish this was like the time where she could have drawn like a bunch of different animals just like on the entire court doing something. I feel like had they done that, it would have stood out a lot more because they're fantastic artists, storyteller, with one single image. But this unfortunately wasn't up to what I think they could produce. I do, however, like the facial expressions a lot. When I zoom into that, especially on the North Carolina animal, it looks really, really nice. I really like that. So yeah, that's how I feel about this.
That's a ram, Jay. Please get it right.
I'm sorry, man. I'm tired. No, I've been working constantly. I'm up all the time.
This is what happens in Falls for sports, folks. Is you see a mascot, you get it wrong. Jay doesn't know anything about Carolina. He gets it wrong and so forth, and that really hurts, Jay. Jay, what would you say if I said if I drew a picture of Scad's mascot, which I think is just a pencil?
It's a bee, and I wouldn't care.
What is it?
I think it's a bee.
Damn.
The Scad bees, and I'm sure you could draw a bee. It's a circle. I mean,
I can draw a bee, and maybe I will. I think for the last round, I will wow everybody with my artistic awesomeness.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I know you can't. All right, Raymond Brown, speak up, sir. What did you make of this piece?
No, well, I was laughing at you and Jay's conversation. Like you just said like Jay is a ram, and then Jay just like unloaded on you. I draw all the time. I'm working constantly. I'm sick of this crap. You can't treat me this way. Unloaded on you. Like,
that was all in your head, evidently. That is not what happened.
Anyway, as far as the picture, I mean the color work is a given in this tournament. I mean everybody's color work that I've seen so far is strong. So that's a given. Like Jay said, I like the facial expressions. They make me smile. They're really, I really love them. As far as it goes, I mean, it's just a little too stiff for me. They try to do things in there to kind of like add motion, like the motion blur with the ball and the tail, but it's still kind of missing that fluidity. But all in all, like I said, for me, it's the facial expression that wins me over with this one. Especially the Tiger.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Audrey Scribbles, we followed her the whole tournament. I think she's been a surprise in terms of her ability to really take on some of the other artists. I think, again, given how dynamic some of the other artists are, Audrey Scribbles' work, tends to be more, more laid back. It's not as dynamic in terms of the characters. It's more dynamic in terms of just the breadth of interesting things she's depicting. And that's huge. That's a huge, as I often say in the tournament, this is all about doing what you do well, and not skipping from that, taking chances where you can, but do the stuff that you do well, because if you do the stuff you do well, you will be able to take on anybody, right? There'll be some people who are more, dynamic in terms of their art, or they can draw different things better than you. They can draw, backgrounds. They can draw, they've got more dynamic color work. But if you stick to what makes you, happy, and stick to what you can do well, and just take that seriously, you can do really cool stuff with it. I love so many pieces. I love so many aspects of this facial expressions. I love the weight of the character. I love the fact that the ram is big and bulky, the one that's guarding the cougar, and then the ram in the background is thin. I just love the different body types of it. I love for some reason really love the cougar because the cougar just has this sort of like kind of he just got this kind of like grin you'd expect the cougar to have. I don't know why that's the case, but the grin on the cougar's face is kind of like like, oh man, I'm gonna toast you. That's sort of it's kind of like a cougar's fast. It just strikes me as so much personality here. Again, I do think the downfall of this piece in comparison to the Scion piece is that for the first time in the tournament, she's not given us a ton of things to look at. I saw someone saying, I love the photographs going on in the backdrop. And yes, that's really cool, but there's some other pieces as well this tournament thus far, this round, where you've seen stuff like that. So that's not enough to give this image a thing here. Had the camera been pulled back, we maybe saw the entire court and saw all 5 players from both teams interacting in different ways that could be realistic, ways that maybe couldn't be realistic. Maybe one is biting the other or chasing the other one. That could have been a really interesting, unique thing that will have captured, again, the spirit that Audra Scribbles has thus far proven to be really adept at. Either way, I love the fact that she's got diversity going on with the body types. I love the personality of the characters in question. I love the speed line on the basketball. But when I compare that, the Scion Arts work, which is, again, admittedly, a bit hard to decipher because it's so dark. But there is such amazing color work going on to it. It's got the sort of dynamic, exaggerated, perspective and poses. I just think this work is a bit more unique and design oriented and masterful. That my heart is with this piece here, even though both of them have Caroline in it, so I'm happy. Who else is with the Scion Arts piece, or who's with the Audra Scribbles piece? Jay, what about you?
Yeah, this one was a hard one for me. I'm gonna go with the Zion Arts though, because it's just so much more energy. So yeah.
All right, what about you, JR?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Zion Arts too. They just make standing so intense.
And what about you, Raymond?
Zion Art.
All right, so we have Zion Arts here with the clean sweep over Audra Scribbles. Again, folks, that doesn't mean everything. Let's not forget that, first of all, well, in the case of Audra Scribbles, I forgot that's the one negative thing too with Audra Scribbles, and my heart goes out to her for that because she chose my Carolina Tar Heels, but both teams she chose got beaten. In the case of Zion, she's going to pick up some bonus points because she did get to work in early, and the character for one of the characters, the Kentucky Wildcats, did survive, so she does going to get some bonus points for that. But you can still decide, folks. The public vote makes a huge difference. So please go out and vote. You can do it at www.saturday-am.com/madness. And, again, we're just a part of the judges. We've got other judges who are part of the Saturday AM team. They'll be judging as well. So we'll see where that goes. But as of now, it's a unanimous sweep for Zion Arts in this particular matchup. Next matchup was Sterling Cartoons, who did not submit anything on time. And we'll talk about that in a second. And they are up against let's see, they're up against sorry folks, I'm old. Jason S 263, who's from the UK. So folks, let me say this real quickly. I've said this every round thus far this year. I don't recall previous years having this much trouble, but we've had this trouble this year. And I'm not gonna lie, it is frustrating. Now, every person, learns a great deal doing this tournament, but it is always frustrating when we find it, because the thing that kills me about it is that we always find out at the last minute. It's never someone contacting us literally the day that we make the matchup list. It's someone contacting us, or us, more than likely us contacting them to ask them where they're at with getting their work in on time because they've already missed the first due date. And they're like, oh yeah, something's come up, I can't get it in. Look, things happen, and you can't, no one can be heartless in these scenarios. Things happen. But this is an event. This is an event that people signed up for to do. This is an event where people were chosen at the expense of other people. It reminds me of this college scandal we just saw going on with college, where the parents are paying all this money to get their kids into college. The kids get into college, they don't even want to be there, or they may not even be good students. And someone who worked hard and went through all the normal routes to get in were denied a chance because someone else got favored to get in on top of them, and then they squander the opportunity because they're not particularly good students. They're not working hard. They're not doing anything to make the school proud, their family proud. They're just there because their parents want them to go to this university, and it misses out an opportunity for someone who really could benefit from that education. It's not the exact same thing, but it kind of is. If we give you the opportunity to be a part of the 64 people in this group, one of the questions in the thing is, do you commit to this tournament? Can you be here? Should you survive all 5 weeks? And the answer is, if it's no, then you don't get a part of the group. So if the answer is yes, and then something comes up, you at least owe it to us, to the fans, and to everyone who could have been in this tournament. You at least owe it to us to say something the very first day that the new matchups are announced, which is on Mondays. When you choose not to do that, then you're putting everyone else in a bind because you chose to just not let us know. And it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. It doesn't matter. As someone who runs a company, Raymond can attest to this. And we've had Raymond and I were laughing the other day about all the sacrifices that we've made to make Saturday AM happen. And a day doesn't go by that something doesn't impact our personal lives, sometimes negatively in a big way, because we chose to make sure Saturday AM still function. That's the choice that we made. And it's just not fair for other people to have to pay the price for that. So there'll be artists, for example, in this round this week, who are going to lose by fractions of a point. And I'm sure that they're thinking to themselves, well, damn, Jason S just got a clear walkthrough. They just got a clear pathway through because this person didn't even show up. And the thing is that Sterling Cardozo is a really good artist, but it's frustrating. I can't lie and say that I'm not frustrated by it. It's extremely frustrating when I see stuff like this in the third week. I expected the first week, it happens. Second week, when we see it, it's a pain. But again, you can expect it a little bit because people just don't know. But when you get to the third week and you're that close to having a chance to win an iPad and a prize package for Chameleon, to just bolt on your responsibilities for it is really frustrating. And person apologize. I appreciate that. This is not an attack on this person, but it is an attack on everybody who would, in the future tournaments, in the remaining part of this tournament, who would go through the event, not let us know the minute you can't commit to this thing, so that we can maybe get another artist in there to give a real chance to those artists who deserve to have competition every single week. It's not fair to the artists who'll go through all 5 weeks and have to compete every single time, all 5 weeks, for an artist to just get a walkthrough because the other artist was like, I can't do it. Something came up. But I couldn't even let you know, even though we live in the world of social media, we have access to all these tools to communicate. I couldn't let you know until the day of the due date that I can't make it. That's not good enough, folks. It's not good enough. With that being said, Sterling Cartoons essentially forfeit this round. But let's talk about Jason S.'s art. He had, again, this is Auburn, Kentucky. Auburn and Kentucky both won, so he's going to get double points for this, even though he won't need it. What did you make of this artwork, Raymond?
Loved it. I definitely can see this as a t-shirt or poster. Really, really good. Love the I don't know if it's the one in the blue jersey, if that's his actual claws coming out the shoes, or if the shoes has claws on them, but that was a really cool touch.
Agreed. Totally agree. We've talked before, I think with Stratemeyer Art's image, we were like, man, that could be like a poster, that could be something.
And I like the ball. I like that the ball is actually not have we seen tonight where the ball is hiding stuff. The ball is actually a part of the artwork versus it just being kind of laid on top of the hand or whatever, like we've seen.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. Totally agree. What about you, J.O.? What do you make of this?
This piece was amazing. All of the colors are great. The facial expressions are very detailed, very awesome. It looks exactly like a poster that would hype up this particular matchup. I love the shoe detail. I'm not sure if you looked at the shoe, but his nails are popping out of it. I thought that was really cool. I love this piece. It looks amazing.
And what about you, JR?
Yeah, I like that touch in the shoes. I'm actually just noticing that because I was looking at it from my computer screen, and then you guys went down. I'm like, wait, what? So that's really cool. I like the figures too. The posing is really nice, and I like how the two mascots also have different body types. I feel as though a lot of mascots were drawn with the same body type, but just changing up the faces. But these two are they're their own characters. I like that touch very much.
Agreed. I think, and now let me say this too. If you go and look at Jason artwork over the past 3 weeks, he reminds me a bit of again that first year Bailey Boutel, because he has gotten significantly stronger week to week. Like that first week, he just kind of gave us something that showed he's talented. He can do some interesting stuff. But man, the first week, what he did was like a Captain Marvel piece. It wasn't particularly. I mean, it wasn't that strong. It wasn't that significant. The second week, though, he came with the Thunder and brought that Death Note piece, and the color work, everything just was so beyond what you would have expected, for that particular image, that it was just extraordinary. I'm reminded, like I said, the 2017 tournament when Bailey, first piece he did was this Batman piece. It wasn't that great. It was like Batman's jumping off a roof. Perspective was really cool. It was interesting, but it didn't stand out that much. In the second, but he was able to get through the first week. I think he realized the level of competition he had. So then the second week he delivers this Hunter x Hunter piece with Karoptica and those little rings he's got. And that one I'll never forget the jump up between Bailey that first week and then the second week. And you're just like, oh, wow, this guy actually is talented. Because the first week you wouldn't have thought that Bailey was capable of that from what he did with the Batman piece, although you knew he was talented. They were night and day pieces. That's exactly what I thought with Jason. That first week, the Captain Marvel piece, it was okay. It was nothing dramatically good about it. But the second week, the Death Note piece was extraordinary. And then this piece just continues to showcase just how much of a threat Jason is for this tournament, because he clearly can do whatever he wants to do artistically. He hasn't shown a big propensity for backgrounds yet. Still waiting to see some more of that. But like you said here, Jay, the claws coming out of the shoe, the different body types, the dynamic poses, everything about this is just really, really, really strong. This is a really, really strong piece. His color work is exceptional, and this is coming through as well. Love the blur, like Raymond said, the blur on the ball effect. That really is powerful because he clearly added it in post. A lot of these artists do that, folks. They're adding it in post, but the fact that he's adding it in post means that he actually drew the hand on the basketball. It's all a core image of the basketball. But then when he went ahead and then put the post on us, you got the motion blur. It works in the context of the artwork. It doesn't look out of line. It looks perfectly in sync with the art. So really, really powerful piece. Love it. Again, wish he had some more competition this round. So does anyone think that Sterling Cartoons beat Jason this week? Does anybody want to be an outlier? I feel like, Jay, you're someone who's like an outlier. Like, if they're all going to go for Jason, I'll go for Sterling.
I'm gonna go with not Sterling right now because there's nothing to look at. But I mean, I was really looking forward to his art because I mean, he's really good at drawing
totally
animals.
That's what made me so frustrated because I expected it to be a really good match.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to it. But I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Jasonas right now, obviously.
Yep. What about you, Raymond?
I don't know, man. I'm looking at it from the website, man, and I'm that red on that black with that did not submit on time is looking pretty epic, man.
Well, to be fair, folks, you can't see it because I didn't include that piece here. But when we do it on the web, when I make those little cards, which some of our interns did, but I always have to go in and fix it. And when I did that particular card, I put in the same thing I've done every week. I put in this red like classified sort of thing with the red bar going through it. And let me say, folks, I did that, so I can't win that one because I did that. Hell, it would have been great if someone would be like, "Hey, Fred, I can't participate, but here's my can't compete card."
that actually would have worked, baby.
That would have been awesome.
you have a better chance than not submitting anything at all.
That's right. So,
yeah, Jason, of course.
Jason, all right. JR, take it, Jason.
Yeah. I mean the red mark there. I was thinking about it, but no, I got to go with Jasonas.
Yeah. I'm about to say you had me guessing there for a second. I was like, damn, is he really thinking about this? But yeah, got it. So all right, folks. So that is the conclusion of this third to last group, which was Saigami. Has some really good talent in it. Let's just do a quick recap. No, I'm sorry. This is Apple Black. My bad. This is Apple Black. So let's do a quick recap of what this group had in it. So this was Team Apple Black. Theme is the NCAA Midwest region, which included teams like UNC Chapel Hill, my beloved Tar Heels, Kentucky Wildcats, Auburn, and University of Houston. And And so when you get here, you get Cyan Arts. She went up against Audrey Scribbles. She's got this really beautiful looking piece. Looks very design oriented, design heavy piece. It captures the kind of excitement at the court level for these teams. She's also got this kind of weird, funky kind of hybrid with the humans wearing, humanoid looking mascots, which is fantastic. So really, really strong piece with UNC and Kentucky Wildcats here. Audrey Scribbles delivered us a great looking UNC versus Houston piece here. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough going on here for us to recommend it, even though there's some really good stuff going on here, such as the colors are nice and they're good primary colors here, great facial expressions, diverse body types, some really cool motion blur on the ball. But what Audrey Scribbles does almost better than anybody is she's able to pepper her images so far in the tournament with lots of eye-catching things that just make you spend time look at the image. And the game where you got 5-on-5 and she can represent them as monsters, she probably could have had a field day with that. She didn't do it, and we can understand why she didn't do it. Obviously, you've only got a set amount of time to do it. But had she done that, I think it would have been a far stronger competition than it was in this matchup. As it stood, the four of us agreed to Cyan Arts are the better piece. And then for the second matchup was Sterling Cartoons, who unfortunately did not submit any work on. We didn't find out until the very last day, so we didn't have a chance to get a backup in place of him. So Sterling Cartoons versus Jason S. 263 from the UK. Jason S. delivered some extraordinarily gorgeous looking artwork, great looking character work, very design oriented, lots of detail. Someone told me that the Japanese at the bottom of that is supposed to be March Madness, which is awesome if that's what it's meant to be. Either way, really good work. Folks, it's setting up a hell of a battle. Cyan Arts versus Jason S. next week. Really good. All right, final group is Team Bully Eater. This is representing the East, where it just has the Despicable Duke, Michigan State, LSU, and Virginia Tech. Everybody ready for this one? Raymond, are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right. So we had in the first matchup here is Rachel Brady Art against iChris. Rachel's from the U.S. iChris is from Philippines. Rachel is giving us the hated Duke University Blue Devils versus the LSU Tigers. I feel like this is such a classic sort of image. I'm going to let Raymond and Jay Oden do this one. Raymond, the floor is yours.
Yeah, classic is the best word for this. Yeah, it almost makes me think if like somebody ever made a manga about Duke, which everybody would hate. This is what the first volume would look like, you know. So it's I really like the composition on it. She did the same kind of thing that I was talking about earlier with the ball, just kind of being there. It's not really any context to what the ball is, whether it's being held or what's going on with the ball, but. Outside of that, like I said, I really like the composition on this one.
Yeah, totally agree. I will say the body style of the Tiger, though, behind it, holding the ball, works really well because he's so massive that the ball in his hand just captures again how massive he is. Go ahead, Jay. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to throw that part in there.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. I wish that the only thing that I probably would have changed with this is maybe change the angle, because it would have shown the LSU Tiger even more massive than he is, and that would just be like more of a Goliath, versus David versus Goliath story. But I really like the colors. I'm actually from Louisiana, so I love the LSU Tiger in the background. I think that's pretty cool. Very vibrant. Yeah. I also really like the basketball textures, on the basketball. I thought that was really awesome as well.
All right, let's see here. Next up is her opponent is Chris. And so Chris decided to just give us several characters. I think Chris kind of missed the point of this round, which is a little odd. But Chris decided to just give us every mascot he could in the group. Don't know why. Don't know what he was trying to accomplish with it. That surely will not help him. But regardless, it's what he did. So we got the Duke Blue Devil, Again, looking like a bastard. We have a Gonzaga Bulldog. We have the UNC Tar Heel, which doesn't look as cool as Tar Heel Ram could look, ladies and gentlemen. And then we have the Purdue Boilermaker, which I must say also does not look as cool as it was depicted by Georgia Brooks earlier in the tournament tonight. That being said, it is an interesting piece. It kind of feels kind of like a Marvel superhero-y, which I do like that idea a lot. What say you, JR, about this piece?
I think it's interesting. He definitely had a lot more inspiration when he was making the Duke mascot. I'd say
Yeah.
I do have a couple gripes with it. The main one being the composition. I think the fact, and this is really just because there's 4 mascots, but it's just you have the Duke mascot looking straight at you, so it's a very sort of even composition there, but you have 2 mascots on one side and one on the other, so it really throws it off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say the other gripe I'd have was really just because he's got the most inspiration with the Duke mascot, but other than that, I don't see that with the other ones. Whereas like other artists have shown, I guess, that they were inspired just a little bit more by those mascots.
Yeah, so Chris is a very talented artist. We've seen his work depicted. He did a pre-tournament with us. This beautiful the Mob Psycho 100 image you can see to the left there. He also drew another interesting piece. I can't recall the characters. One of our characters. He's very talented, clearly. That being said, I must say, this was an interesting matchup because Chris, for me, this tournament has not been quite what I expected him to be based off of what he submitted with that Mob Psycho piece and the other piece that he did, which it was a Bully Eater piece. The works have been, to me, just less exciting as the images that we saw. Conversely, Rachel and Brady Art, whose work has really grown on me, because I must say I wasn't particularly blown away by the first week that she did this Velvet Everguard or something from Netflix, and I just thought it was very flat, and she didn't depict a lot of stuff with it. It was just kind of a standard looking manga character that looked like it could have been for Full Metal Alchemist. It just wasn't nearly compelling to me. But the second week, the mythological figure she produced, which was Kronos, was really strong. It was really strong. Her line work was complete. It didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel half-hearted. It felt like a very complete image in and of itself. Had great texture to the background piece to it. Rachel, if you look at Rachel's work, you can see where she's really good. You can see where she's not really good or developing. And the same thing was true with Chris. So this was, to me, a really interesting matchup. I was looking forward to this matchup when we randomly put them together. And so, it doesn't disappoint. I think what Chris does is Chris is very in the mode of going after manga-oriented things. And so this feels like, particularly, like I agree with you totally, JR. Had he let the other mascots go, which again, that was a problem because I don't know what he was trying to go for here. He didn't have to draw the Purdue character. Gonzaga was also, or UNC's not in this group. I mean, he could have drawn UNC just because, again, the rivalry between Duke and Carolina is so iconic in world sport that, it makes sense. But beyond that, like you didn't have to have it. He could have literally just had the Duke Blue Devil there. And that's a really compelling looking Duke Blue Devil. I love the light up eyes. I love the little demon thing coming up from him and so forth. It could have kept that background. The background, which seems kind of interesting, could have been more iconic, but without all the background characters. The UNC Ram is not particularly well represented. I love the height, for example, and the massive size of the LSU Tiger. He could have done that with the Carolina character. Would have given it more depth by having that happen. He could have had the ball glow. Could have been like a Kamehameha, whatever, from Dragon Ball. There was so much stuff, given that he's such a big fan of manga, clearly, that he could have done with just the Duke character. That would have been really extraordinary, but he didn't. And so the weaknesses of his work, where I feel like when he has images he submitted thus far, where he has lots of characters on the page, and this March Madness tournament, in this year's tournament, I felt like there's always one character who looks really good and the others don't. That's exactly what I feel here. I feel like the other characters are necessary. Some of them aren't even the same bracket that he was supposed to draw from. And the one character he drew, which is really good, is the best part about this. Everything else just decreases the strength of the work, as opposed to Rachel here, where I feel like I'm not in love with the Duke Blue Devil character, not because I hate him, just because there's just her work is very stiff. I think that's fair to say at this point. Her work is not particularly dynamic in terms of this, like there's not a lot of energy going on with it. That being said, what she's drawing is well depicted whenever she draws it. Certainly beginning last week with her Kronos figure. The line work here is really simple. I love the LSU Tiger. I love the Duke Blue Devil. Again, if her color work was more dynamic as well, I think it would make this piece even stronger. The background is relatively non-existent, just like in the last week's piece. The background is not particularly compelling here. Not compelling here either. It's just a flat hardwood floor. But the pose, I can see this as a coloring book image. I mean, it's so much. The line work is so strong here. To me, this is the stronger piece of the two, pretty obviously. What do you think, Raymond?
Yeah, you said something last week that definitely applies to Chris's work this time. Is if he would have just focused on the Blue Devil, like it just like took everybody out and just made that like almost like an Akuma Raging Demon type deal, he would have had my vote for real. Like that would, because I like what he did with the Duke character. The other characters just seem like he just they're not necessary. They're not necessary. Mm-hmm. But so as far as my vote, I mean, are we doing that now?
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as my vote goes, I'll give it to Rachel, just because I wish she would have spent more time. What you said last week on one of them, I wish she would have spent more time on this character. I wish she would have spent more time on the Duke image, on the Blue Devil, and just left out the other characters. And he would have had my vote on this one, but I'm gonna give it to Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, again, to be fair, I agree with you, but to be fair, like so Rachel's point is that, like, I'm not in love with the Duke Blue Devil, but the face on the Duke Blue Devil is awesome. Like his facial expression on the Duke Blue Devil that Rachel did is fantastic. The LSU Tiger, the dimensions, the shape, the perspective is fantastic. So again, like Rachel, like I said, there's lots of things Rachel did right here that make it a better image, regardless of what Chris did. But yeah, I'm with you on that. JR, what do you think of this? Who are you with?
Yeah, I'm also with Rachel. I'd say this is a case where just keeping it simple works to your advantage.
Agreed. And Jay Oden?
I'm also with Rachel. I think that's a better piece.
All right. Well, Rachel Brady, it is unanimous sweep for Rachel Brady versus Chris from the Philippines. So there we go. And then the final matchup, folks, is MP OJ. And I don't really know her real name. I'm actually curious to know if this woman is actually Asian. Her name's like Mayumi, so forth. But we know in the world of we see this stuff all the time. But I love this. This is just a great image. Everything she does. Only thing I don't like, we talked about this last week, and I was really curious to see what she came up with. Her work, her color work just has this kind of fog to it. It always looks like it's either white fog or just fog. It just has this kind of, it's just a bit overdone in my opinion. But this is the Michigan Spartan. He looks badass. It's a great image. It's very manga oriented, like what Amber did. Great image. What did you make of this, Jay?
Yeah, I agree. There's just something off about the lighting, but I honestly think okay. Well, let me rephrase that. Not necessarily the lighting. I agree with you with the fog. I do think that there's something off with the lighting. I think that it's a little bit too bright in some places, but I mean, honestly, I think that's kind of like just her style, because maybe it's a filter or something, like a video game like looking filter or something. It just, to me, when I look at this, I envision like some type of poster or something, that like a trailer for a video game or something like that. So, but I really like this a lot. I think it's the figure itself is pretty interesting. I like the blood. I wish that there was another character that we could have seen, but that's just me being picky right now. So.
All right, Raymond, what did you make of this?
Yeah, everything Jet said. I was looking at this one last week too, and I saw the discussion about it. I mean, it's definitely a choice. It's definitely a choice. This kind of, to me, it was like a gloss, like a gloss and like a blur filter that's just on top of it. My only gripe with it is that it would, if it was blown up, like right now I'm looking on a really big screen, and to the untrained eye, it looks pixelated. It looks like blurry. Right. I know it's not blurry, and most artists would know it's not blurry, but the average person might look at it. If it's done too much, it kind of comes off as like, what is that? What's wrong with this thing? So, but all that said, though, love it. I mean, it reminds me of sort of the Berserk, but the Spartan. It's cool.
Yeah. All right. And JR?
Yeah, I agree. A lot of points that that Jay and Raymond make. I disagree in that I don't think it needs another character. I think it highlights Spartan very well. I like the little reflection in the shield, and I think in general, like despite the blur, somehow the character still sort of pops and stands out to me a little bit. I don't know if it's just the way the lighting is, or if it's just the, I don't know, choice of color. But you know, I see. I forget where I was going, but I still think the piece is just really strong.
Ladies and gentlemen, JR's laugh, like Jay Odin, doesn't take much, folks, but it comes out. But I hear you, JR. I've got you. All right, her opponent is Bezhan Artist, who really wowed us last week with this piece that he did on his phone, featuring Zeus. It wasn't individually, it wasn't the strongest piece, but then when you took it all in context of what he did, it really stood out. Bezhan Artist, great piece here. Now he's got a new piece this time with the Duke Blue Devil. Now, I don't quite know what's going on in the background there. I don't know if that's meant to be another devil, I guess. Satan. I guess it's meant to be Satan, and the Blue Devil's like the little devil.
Like Tagoro. It looked like Tagoro from Yu Yu Hakusho.
Okay, that's great.
I honestly, I wasn't too sure either. I thought maybe they were going for another type of stand thing as well, but I wasn't really sure.
Well, let's start with you, Jay. What do you make of this piece?
Well, overall, I think it's pretty cool. I guess I thought it was really interesting that Chris and Bezhan Artist essentially have the same type of picture. So I mean, because of that kind of threw me off a little bit. But I really like that the Blue Devil guy is, he's depicted pretty well. I like the spikes coming out of him, the spikes coming out of him. I wish that maybe they're doing a little bit more than just holding a ball looking directly at you. Maybe if that other summon behind him or something like that was doing something like really, really cool. Other than just putting up their hands to like, hey, let's fight. Maybe if they were like punching the ball into like the goal, or punching one of like their opponents away. I don't know. If they're doing something else than just standing, I think it'll look a little bit more interesting. And I mean, this artist is very, very talented. The last picture they did with their finger on a phone. So, I mean, I really like this artist, but this particular picture, I feel like could have used a little bit more, oomph. So, yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, so there are some things I love here. I love so first of all, I love the effects in the background. Again, folks, you don't have to have backgrounds if you're going to do something unique with it. In this case, I really like it. I love the color work. I love the glow up eyes, which again is always something that's kind of interesting when people do it. Here it's used well. Of course, yes, I'm not a fan of Duke, so I'm like screw Duke. But I do, and I do, and I'm with you. So one thing that Jay doesn't know, and I take it a lot of these artists don't know, is that. So again, I'm 45. When I was a kid, the ACC, which has in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, the best conference in college basketball. Folks, keep in mind, there are hundreds of schools. There's like over 100 schools in the NCAA. And so to have a conference, much less my own school, be one of the top schools is really impressive. But my conference, the conference that has Carolina and Duke in it, these are mascots that have literally been around for 100 years. These are, or the schools have at least. So these are mascots that have been around for generations. When I was a kid, you would find these before, obviously licensing is a big deal now, but when I was a kid growing up in the 70s and 80s, licensing wasn't what it is today. So you'd find you'd find T-shirts and stuff that featured Duke or Carolina, and they'd always be drawn by local artists who decided to depict them in different ways. I remember a series of posters, in fact, that you could buy like at the Spencer Gifts and things like that, where I grew up at, which is in the same town that Duke University's in. And you'd find like, this really gorgeous, like fantasy style sort of imagery of like the Duke Blue Devil, and he was never depicted with like a jersey. He was depicted like a all blue, like death god. It was just always really, really cool stuff. And the other mascots were given similar treatment. One of the schools that isn't in the tournament is NC State, North Carolina State, which has their mascot's a wolf, a werewolf. And so, like, you see some really gorgeous fantasy images of these characters. So I was really surprised that no one took that really to heart and decided to deliver something that didn't involve basketball. I just took the mascot and said, I'm going to capture the overall look of the mascot, but I'm going to just do something manga with it or whatever. So it is interesting. I think in this case, yeah, I mean, the Satan piece here, the Satan, being connected to him somehow, whether it's a stand or it's his, father or God or whatever, is interesting. But beyond that though, it's just the guy holding the basketball. I mean, at the end of that, is really all it is. And knowing how amazing the artists are, I was kind of surprised. Like I said, that so many people just decided to go that route with it instead of just getting crazy with it, because there's no rules to what you had to draw. You just had to draw the mascot. Raymond, what did you make of this piece?
Yeah, everything that was said. I like the effects. The effects are really cool. The color's good. I like the way the eyes glow. Really nice. The basketball kind of throws me off just because it's there. He's done more than some artists where they just kind of fake the ball. But it'd been nice. Maybe if the hand was in a different position, it'd look a little more believable. But other than that, solid piece.
All right. So Jay, you spoke on this one, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it, folks. We've all spoken on it. So the question now is, what are we going to do about it? So,
I haven't gotten a chance to speak up.
What's that, Jay? You didn't speak up. JR, you didn't speak up?
Yeah, no, I haven't gotten the chance to speak on this piece.
Oh, okay, my bad.
No problem.
Yeah. Don't let Jay Odin take all the fun. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, dude.
No, it's all good. I mean, he called on you first.
Go ahead, JR.
Yeah, I was going to say that, obviously there's the similarity between his and Chris's piece. I feel as though it fixes a lot of the problems that we saw in Chris's piece with the composition. You can see the anime inspiration. I do like the speed line effect sort of blurring into the giant demon in the background is really cool. The thing I would have wanted to see most, I guess, would be a more dynamic sort of pose or expression on the demon in the back itself. I feel as though that would just add a lot to it.
I agree with you on that. Like I said, there's a lot of choices you can make, and I think all the choices are interesting. For me, again, like I said, just knowing how amazing all the artists here are, I just would have loved it if they weren't tethered to the basketball and they just went in a different direction with it. But it's interesting. It's still an interesting piece either way. All right, so we got Bezin artist from Iraq, and we have Impy OJ, I think that's how you say her name, from America. Two ultra talented artists. One of the toughest matchups this week. Let's see who's going to take it, at least from our judge vote. Let me begin with you, JR, since Jay Odin tried to take your place last time. What do you want to do, sir? Who do you side with for this matchup?
It's close for me. I'm going to give it to Impy.
You have the Impy J here with the Michigan Spartan, okay? What about you, Mr. Raymond Brown?
Impy J.
Impy J. All right. What about you, Mr. J Odin?
MPJ.
Impy J. Oh, all right. Well, you know what? I must say, I did like Bezin's piece here. I like the piece. I like the God figure. I don't know why I like the God figure behind him. There's just something about it. It's just, first of all, I'm gonna tell you why I liked it. It's everything I just said a few minutes ago, because it was different. Because it looked like he was actually just letting his imagination play, as opposed to being so beholden to the basketball. So like that piece stood out to me more than the Blue Devil. I actually disliked the Blue Devil in the piece. The Blue Devil itself had it. I like this sort of godlike Satan figure behind him. And I love the background. There's something about the background, the color work here that really, really appeals to me. I've said my point before about Impy. There's this weird haze and gloss over her work that just doesn't. Because I don't understand why it's there. Like, she clearly can draw anything that she wants to draw. She's clearly talented enough to depict anything, and she clearly understands color to a degree. she goes this extra mile by putting this sort of extra filter on it. Go look at all the previous entries she's had in the past this tournament. First one had this white gloss over it. The second one has an extreme amount of white gloss over it, and this third one has this weird, this weird shade to it, even to where like the light is hitting the shield, which is beautiful. Also, kind of is like the light hitting the character's arm, and the arm should not feel like the shield. So there's just something going on with their lighting effects. I don't know what it is. At some point, we'll talk to her about it, but I don't know what it is. But for me, it just makes me. I said it last week. I was becoming more and more skeptical with her work, and I think this week was kind of for me a bridge too far. Bezin to me really took it to a different direction, and I like it, even though I don't care for just the character holding the basketball. So there we go. So we have so just a recap for this final group for this week's tournament, our Sweet 16. We had Rachel Lynn Brady Art from America she was versus iChris, and despite iChris having a really cool Duke Blue Devil that kind of had a Dragon Ball thing going on, he didn't go far enough with it. He put in a lot of characters he didn't need to. As a result of that, we went with Rachel Lynn Brady's art. Rachel Lynn Brady also, she's going to get some extra bonus points because she chose Duke. So unanimous from the judges. She's got some extra bonus points coming because of Duke. Really cool piece. Next up, we have Impy OJ from America with her Michigan State Spartan. And she was going up against the Iraq's Bezan artist. I really liked the color work here and the use of this sort of like weird godlike figure behind the Duke Blue Devil. To me, it spoke to all the unique things that you could see the artist trying to do with it. With Impy OJ, I love the character work here. Coloring job is where I just started losing interest in this piece, but I love the character work here. The artwork itself, the actual illustrated part, is phenomenal. That being said, our three judges preferred this piece to Bezin. So what does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? What does that mean? It means that you can help dictate what occurs by going to the website right now and voting. Tell your friends to go vote. If you know people who are into comic books, into college basketball, if you know people who are in the various things, send them to our website to check out this artwork. They'll be able to look at it in an unfiltered way, and they can vote on it right there on the website. It's very easy, very simple, and those votes go a long way to being able to help one of these artists walk away with a brand new Apple iPad and a complete prize package from Chameleon Art Products, makers of the Chameleon Art Pens, Chameleon markers, Chameleon colored pencils, and the Chameleon color top. So you can blend your colors and produce literally infinite variants of color iterations that you might want to use for a really beautiful looking piece of art. So that is everything we've got currently. So now, again, you can go vote. The vote, this is actually off. It shouldn't say this date on it, but voting will actually finish tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then again, the dates here are off. Round 4 will begin Monday, April 1st at the web address you see below. So if you want to go vote, go there right now. You can go place your votes for all the artists that you think should go ahead beyond what we said today. And then we will tabulate all those votes tomorrow after 6 p.m. And by Monday morning, April 1st, 2019, we will tell you who's won, who got the most votes, and subsequently who is facing who the following week. Now, in terms of who's facing who, what we can tell you is that you're going to see every one of the artists tonight who survive, they're facing the other winner. So there are only 4 artists per team tonight, and of those 4 artists, the next artist they go up against will indeed be the challenger they're going to face. So, for example, we know that when Sterling Cartoons failed to get his work in, he was basically locked out of being able to compete inside of the Team Apple Black. So we were unanimous in Cyan Arts winning tonight. That's not finalized. We obviously will see the votes and stuff come in, but should things work out that way, the next week Cyan Arts will have to face Jason AS263, and so on for each of the groups. 2 artists each group, what we call the Elite 8 out of all 4 groups remain. And remember, the key they're trying to do here is they're essentially trying to they're trying to win against who is going to be the person who is basically the representative for Team Bully Eater, Team Clock Striker, Team Saigami, and Team Apple Black for the final round, round 5, which will be the final 4 artists, and we will choose the winner amongst that final 4. So in this Elite 8 that's coming up next, starting on Monday, that's pretty much, that's it. That's it. I mean, whoever, they've now got to go up against the best artists in those groups. So we're going to see who that might be. And I'm really excited about that. I can also tell you that the tournament themes next week will go back to normal, although there will be a bit of a change with it. And we're going to talk about those changes and how we're going to, once again, throw a monkey wrench and how the stuff will work. So you'll have a chance to see what that's like. It's going to be really interesting and really exciting, but it's going to really, I think it's going to force people to try some really interesting stuff there. So with that being said, actually, I can't tell you this piece, sorry, is that it's going to be a comic page. You're going to produce a comic page, and the themes will all be different, but you're going to produce a comic page. So it doesn't matter if you activate your super rank or your rank, you still got to do a comic page. So this is where the dreaded comic page finally is going to be debuted, and it's going to be really interesting to see how every artist manages that. Last but not least, folks, if you want to, this tournament is huge for Saturday AM. It's huge for the art community. It's huge for young people who want to be artists in the future. This is really a big tournament, and if you want to have your artwork seen, if you want to have your comic, your commissions, anything you're working on seen by as large a group as possible, you really should consider advertising with Saturday AM. We have ads you can buy in our magazines. We have ads you can buy in our on our website as a part of this March Art Madness tournament. It's a really great way for you to get attention. I often tell people, if you're trying to get your work seen, stop worrying about whether or not someone will give you a shout out and put your money where your mouth is. I know it's hard. Money doesn't grow on trees. I know this, but at the same time, you've got to reach people where they exist. And with Saturday AM being one of the longest running and most respected brands for diverse manga-oriented content with some of the top creators who came from positions just like yourself, normal people who really love artwork and are able to make a brand happen, then that's where you want to be. That's where you want to have your comic featured to get as much attention and exposure as possible. So consider advertising with us. It helps Saturday AM continue moving around the right path, and it helps us continue to discover new great artists. So again, we've got to fix this little piece here because that is clearly incorrect. So I need to fix that part there. I do want to once again give you guys a shout on our website here. If you go to our website, again, you'll have a chance to check out all the cool stuff happening with our digital magazine, and of course with March Madness 2019. And you can go check out not only all of the rounds that have existed thus far, round 1, 2, and 3, but you can also check out previous years. So if you want to see, when we talk about people like Kiara Reddy or Bailey Boutel, and you'll see how their artwork was in the previous years and how they were able to chart their path towards their eventual victory or their eventual runners-up status, you can discover all of that by going to our website, www.saturday-am.com/madness. Now, folks, I had a lot of additional few minutes here to answer any questions you guys might have, so I'm happy to do that. While I'm waiting on you to put together some questions that you might want me to answer, I'd like to have our 3 judges real quickly tell us what they're working on and what you guys can do to support them. So let me start first and foremost with Mr. Jay Oden. Jay, what are you working on? What do you want people to know about regarding stuff that you currently are doing? Jay. All right, maybe we lost Jay. I don't know. JR, can you hear me?
Yep, I'm still here.
All right. Well, JR, go ahead and tell everybody about Underground. What is Underground about?
All right, so Underground, it's a martial arts type manga. The main character, he's an underground fighter. And so the idea is, to bring sort of all these styles together in a less traditional sports type manner. Whereas with like a lot of sports manga, you see like, all these rules set. Here you get to see those all these different styles, duke it out in a way that is less constricted by, I guess, the rules of that sports set. So I'm really looking forward to people reading it and seeing what people think, and seeing where it goes. Take this journey with me.
So really cool series coming up, folks. Again, it's going to debut exclusively inside of Saturday PM, which is our more adult publication. If you love things like Baki the Grappler and other works that kind of feature, really strong, manly characters going up against each other and fighting. If you love MMA, then you really want to check this out. Really great work for a really exciting up and coming artist, Mr. JR. Next, JR, what's your social media handle?
So my Instagram, it's Drama Manga. That's drama with a J, so JRAMA Manga.
So, folks, if you want to check out some of his work and get ready for the debut of Inside of Saturday PM issue number 4, which is coming very soon, go to Instagram and it's @JRAMA Manga, MANGA. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Great stuff there. You also get to see a piece of his family life and the stuff that he does in his own personal life in terms of his own relationship to martial arts. Very fun stuff to check out. Go check it out on Instagram. Now we have Jay Oden back. Jay, did you disappear on us, buddy?
Yeah, I could hear everything. I just couldn't talk for whatever reason. I'm sorry. So, what am I working on? I am currently trying to put out my one-shots books, which I'm essentially just waiting until I get the comp copies and, everything is ship-shape on the website. But that will be announced soon. So, definitely follow me on Twitter and Instagram @JOden. If you want to get yourself a copy. What else am I working on? I'm working on a book for Oni Press right now, which was announced a few years ago. I'm still working on it, so hopefully it'll be out around this time next year, hopefully. So yeah, I'm doing a lot, but it's working out. It's been pretty fun.
So Jay, of course, folks, is the creator of Hammer. Hammer will be returning Saturday AM this summer. Brand new installments of that. You can read some of the current installments up on our website. Just go to www.saturday-am.com/hammer, and you'll have a chance to check out some of his work there. That being said, as well, Jay's volume 1 of Hammer will be coming this summer. We're currently doing some of the production elements on it. We are printing the books overseas, and we'll hopefully have those in this summer. But again, we're working right now to get retail going. So once we get all of our books in there currently, you then can expect our newer stuff like Hammer to be popping in there at that point. And finally, Mr. Raymond Brown, the creator of Bully Eater, one of the co-founders of Saturday AM. Raymond is working right now to get those magazines out. Raymond, how are things going with Saturday AM issue number 102, where Bully Eater appears again after a little bit of a hiatus? How are things coming with that? How far off are we on getting Saturday PM issue number 4 and Saturday AM issue number 102 ready for people?
Just putting the pieces together. All the comics are in and look really good. For both PM and Saturday AM. I think you guys are really gonna like it. I would say I can't put a time on it right this second, but definitely within the next 48 hours or so, we should have possibly PM ready to go, and we'll have it in our new format. If you guys hadn't checked it out, where you can actually subscribers get the version that they can keep, like a downloadable version, but eventually, we'll put it on the website where you can actually take a look at it on the site and all that good stuff. So things are coming along.
Cool. All right. So folks, that is really excited about that. Saturday AM issue number 102. For those of you who were asking, Saturday AM is monthly for most of this year. We were normally bi-weekly because we got so many things happening this year with Martial Art Madness, our retail plans, and some other stuff. We decided the best course of action was to make the digital magazine on a monthly basis. So that's why issue 102 will be coming out soon. Issue 103 will come out later in April. We just go from there. But really excited about this new interactive experience for you to be able to check it out. We have videos and stuff in there. We'll be doing more cool stuff in future issues of Saturday AM and Saturday PM that I think will really appeal two people who are discovering us for the first time. Now, we have also changed our subscription package a little bit. We'll be talking more about that at a later date. In fact, Saturday FM, which is our digital, which is our podcast, we're gonna have a new episode of that coming this week. So do expect, if not Monday evening, sometime later in the week, the first episode of our new podcast, Saturday FM. It'll be myself and some of our interns. It's going to be really fun. We're going to be touching on a lot of cool topics. One of the things we'll be talking about, of course, is pitch sessions. So one of the things we'll be doing with this new subscription is that you'll be able to actually submit your subscription. I'm sorry, if you were a subscriber, you'll have a chance to pitch us your comic or your magazine on the podcast. We'll actually review it on the podcast, just like we're doing here with your artwork for March Art Madness. Likewise, we'll randomly interview and talk with people who are from Instagram and have a chance to talk to them and interview them and things like that. So we're really excited on it. We've been working on that format for some time. So we're really excited about the new sort of approach to a podcast. We want it to feel kind of like a talk show and just really get into the sort of banter that you see normally that I have with these guys which is all real. This is how we are as friends and as colleagues and as coworkers. And so we want a podcast that feels like that every time you listen to it. And so we're going to be working really hard to get that to you guys soon. But again, if you're a subscriber, that's the difference of being a subscriber. Not only do you get the magazine early, not only do you get a chance to get the magazine directly and keep it, but by being a subscriber, you actually then get to do some other things in terms of art contests, art critiques, pitch sessions, things like that. You get a chance to get those things generated randomly for you and more consistently than if you just were reading the magazine for free on the website. So we're really excited about this new direction we're going with the subscription. We obviously want people to subscribe and support us, but at the same time, we want people reading the magazine. We've got great content, some of the best content out there, and we want as wide of an audience as possible to read it. So if you want to read it, you can do so on the website for free. If you want to put ads in it, you can do that as well. And that way you can guarantee you'll be seen by lots of people. And if you want to support us, you can do so by subscribing to the magazine. And that gives you a chance to actually pitch us your concepts as opposed to just sending us random emails and random Instagram DMs and Twitter DMs telling us that you got the next great idea. Because trust me, that doesn't work. So are there any questions I can answer? I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have about Saturday AM, March Madness, Summer of Manga, Saturday FM, and so on. Any questions you guys might have? Vicinia says, so is the theme for next week's comic pages for all brackets? Yes. So the theme of comic pages, so it's not per se a theme, obviously, but the comic page scenario will be the case for all groups. The difference will be that the theme will alter. So you will have different themes you can do. And so it's going to be really an interesting scenario for people who want to draw. Again, if you've got the ranking power, you can actually shift it and draw something differently. Or you're not. You can choose and hold it for your last week. So it's going to be interesting from that standpoint. But you can shift it, but you'll still have to draw a comic page or whatever theme you shift it to. Summer of Manga. Summer of Manga is our competition that we do for, it's kind of like manga, kind of like March Art Madness. That is for short stories, though. So we task and challenge people to produce short stories. We have no plans to reveal that information until the very final episode of this year's live review show, like this episode you're listening to right now. When we do episode 5 on April 8th is when we reveal Summer of Manga plans. So that's all I can tell you right now, my friend. Any other questions? All right. Well, I guess that's about it then. So I want to thank all the artists who participated in this week's March Art Madness. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you guys continuing to dazzle us and present such amazing artwork from all over the world, from Iraq to the Virgin Islands, from Philippines to all over the U.S. and Canada and the U.K. We really, really, really appreciate it. We're super excited at all the amazing work we've seen this year, and I can't wait to see how this whole thing finishes out. It's going to be really excited to see what happens in round 4 and round 5. Likewise, on behalf of my judges, I want to thank you. I want to thank all my judges, for coming out and supporting us this year. We've got more judges who will be popping in for the next round. So I think Jay's going to be pretty consistent throughout, but we're going to have other judges alternating in. So I want to thank Jay for being consistent. I want to thank Raymond this week and thank JR, our latest addition to Saturday PM, our latest addition to Saturday AM Family. I want to thank both of them for taking time out of their schedule today to help us with this tournament and reviewing the work. Thank you, guys.
Anytime, man.
You're welcome.
Well, Raymond said you're welcome. Thank you, JR. I'm sorry, JR.
It's all good.
He just gets in there, JR. He gets in there.
It's all good. No, thanks for having me. Hopefully you have me again.
Absolutely. All right. And last but not least, folks, again, I want to thank Chameleon Art Products. I'll say it again, folks. This tournament, we could not exist doing the things that we do without the support of you guys subscribing to our magazine, buying ads within our publication and our website, and supporting us in various ways, buying our books and so on and so forth. Likewise, we couldn't exist without the vendor support. These are big companies, folks, from Plas to Illo Sketchbooks, 21 Draw. These are all either startups or really big companies who recognize what we're trying to do, and they stand for the same things. And thus, it's been really extraordinary for us to have grown this little brand into something that companies want to work with. These companies can work with lots of big talent, lots of big companies, but they're choosing to work with us. And it's important for us that not only do we give you guys great product that you can use as prizes in other ways, but more importantly, that you guys support the people that are sponsoring us, because that's obviously how we keep things moving along and keep growing the way we need to. So, folks, trust us. We would not recommend anybody for money. We recommend people because we believe in them. It's the only way we partner with someone. So from that standpoint, Chameleon Art Products, great reviews, great talent behind them, a company that I've had a chance to meet them now and talk to them for the last little bit, and they strike me as being very similar to Saturday AM. They have a lot of family feels to the way they all interact with each other, from Sarah to Nick to Christian and so on. So we're extremely honored to be working with them for this tournament. We have plans to work with them going forward as well, and as well as other companies. We work with other companies also. So please do yourself a favor, check these guys out. Go to their website, www.chameleonartproducts.com, 3 words all together, and check out what they got. I'm positive you'll love some great stuff there. And they're going to be choosing artists for the Color Top Round Awards each week. So we'll hopefully get some more artists who are doing amazing work and be treated with a prize pack from Chameleon. And last but not least, of course, the grand prize, an iPad plus an entire suite of the Chameleon products. And the last thing, of course, is that I want to say is that they're actually got a special coming that's just for Saturday AM. You can save 10% off purchase with them. That will not be active until Monday, April 1st. So when you go to our website to get all the new matchups and find out who won, make sure you check out the links, hit the link there, and have a chance to get that 10% discount on a couple of things from Chameleon. Again, we want to thank them for believing in us, supporting us, and likewise, we hope you guys will take a chance and look at their product and see if anything appeals to you from there. All right, folks, that's it. My name is Frederick Jones, founder and publisher of Saturday AM, the world's most diverse shonen manga anthology. Issue 102 is coming soon. Saturday PM, our sister publication number 4 is coming soon, and we're going to be soon to be found in your local library and or bookstores. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for supporting us, and we will see you guys next week, same Freddy time, same Freddy channel, for more March Art Madness 2019. Take care, everybody.